Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ali, and I'm back and uploading videos here. And I know that you guys might have missed my uploads, and I didn't upload anything for quite a while. And let me tell you guys that I sort of went through a personal phase recently, so it was a very difficult situation for me, and it took some time. And honestly, I wanted to get out of it, as soon as possible and get back to my life. And now it's getting better, obviously. And the videos are going to be more frequent now. I'll be uploading weekly, I guess. And because I like doing this stuff, and since my first two videos were they became really popular on YouTube and on Reddit as well, on other platforms as well. So yeah, I'm going to be uploading more and more of this stuff. So in this video, let me show you guys what I've actually built. So this is a Next.js build, guys. I've experimented with Next.js, and it's kind of a low-key build, not a lot of stuff, but I've communicated with an API. So I wanted to do a little bit differently this time. And by the way, I had this build prepared 1 month ago, but I didn't had any time to record because of the situation, and I'm recording today right now. So as you click on show more, it actually shows you more characters there, and it's all the StarWars characters. And by the way, all of this information, everything is coming from an API. And if I click, I can basically click on any of these characters. If I click here, and because it's Next.js and it's using something called getStaticProps, because this is all static information, as you guys can see. So there's this one gotcha here that whenever I come back to the page, it actually shows me limited results, but you guys could change it as well. I'll show you how to do that. But you see all the information is happening at an instant. So if I click on dot with, you see there's no loading kind of thing here, right? And let me show you another thing. If I refresh, it's actually showing a cool loading animation spinner here, which is kind of nice as well. And so the main thing here to notice is the Next.js getStaticProps and getStaticPaths. So we'll have a lot of fun in this build. And yeah, I'm really excited to do this, guys. So let's just get started with it. Since we are going to be, and I'm using style components with Next.js, and I have a very nice repo here from GitHub. So it's actually showing us, it's an example app with style components. So they prepare for us everything. It's kind of a template, but so we don't have to download style components later on, and there's some configuration which they do for us. So what you guys want to do is open your terminal or command prompt, whatever, if you're using Windows. And since I'm going to be using Yarn, if you're using actually no, this for this tab we'll be using npx here. So as similar to what we used to do, so let me get to my desktop first. Similar to what we used to do with create react app, we used to say npx create react app. This time, because we're using next, it's going to be like npx create next app. And we just want to change this last part and change it to our build, because this is going to be the name. So I'm going to be changing it to StarWars API build YT and press enter. So this is going to prepare an application for us, a Next.js application. It's going to be a very beautiful application, everything prepared, and especially since you're going to be using style components. So, and let me actually show you guys what Next.js is. So if you guys are new to Next.js, it's basically a production framework for React. And what it does, it basically, so what getStaticProps, and so it gives us something called server-side rendering. And what it does is basically, so I click here, and it's a very good documentation here. So I'm going to be using getStaticProps and getStaticPaths. And what it does is basically fetches the data at build time. So because that's why you're seeing there's no delay in the, and by the way, this is deployed to Vercel as well, as you guys can see. So Vercel is a platform. They are the people who actually built this Next.js. And as soon as I click it, there's no delay, you guys see. So that's the thing which is basically coming from getStaticProps. So it fetches the data at build time. So as soon as you go to the website, it fetches all the data, and it actually fetches on the build time. So there's no delay, and you see the information as if it was already there before. And that's why it's called get static, because it's obviously static. All this information is not changing. So if anything which is like changing, let's say you have a blog post or a news website where the articles or anything is going to be changing very frequently. So you might want to use something called server-side rendering, and that's called server-side props. So it fetches the data on each request as opposed to fetching the data at build time, because obviously things are going to be changing really frequently. But in our case, we are not. It's not going to be changing. So it's going to be like that. And by the way, let me show you guys the API, StarWars API, which I'm using. So it's from, let me write GitHub here. Actually forgot to open that link. So I think it's going to be from, yeah, it's going to be from this guy. So the reason why I'm actually using that, there's a lot of other APIs, but why I'm using this is because it gives me the images which I want. So there's another API called from Swappy, but it does not give me the images which I want. So because the images are going to be really important in this aspect. So if I go back here, this is the original website, and resembles pretty much a lot of, there's a lot of resemblance here, as you guys can see. I just didn't include the description since it was not there in the API. So yeah, that was the thing. So now let's just go back to terminal. Must be down. Yeah. So now what you want to do is, it's giving you instructions here, as you guys can see. So now cd into this directory here, API build YT. And as soon as you go into this directory, now you want to open, if you're using Visual Studio Code, you can just type code dot to open it inside of a code editor. I'm using a beta version of Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to use code insiders dot. It's actually going to open it inside of my code editor. Here we go. And that's so this is very interesting now. So I actually prepared for us everything. So if you go into our package.json here, you guys can see that we have style components. It's a Babel plugin. Okay, and we don't have to, actually it's a dev dependency, you don't have to worry about this, but they have already downloaded style components for us and set up all the necessary stuff which you want to use. And this is from Next.js, by the way. So this pages directory here. So Next.js gives us something called an app.js, which is pretty similar to React, right? We have a app.js in React as well, and it's basically the root of the application. Right here is where everything happens. All the pages are going to be rendered here, obviously, and this index.js is your home page basically. So you can if you open the terminal by pressing Command J, and since I'm going to be using yarn, so I'm going to be using yarn, and it's a bit different in Next.js. So you don't say yarn start, you say yarn dev to run a server. So if you're using npm, you have to say npm run dev, and as opposed to yarn. And it's going to start a server for me on localhost 3000. So I can just navigate there and open it on my localhost 3000 here, the server. It's a bit laggy for me, so because I'm actually recording, and obviously my Mac is not very, does not have a lot of RAM, so it kind of lags a bit. So it might take a while to open the server here. But let me go back to the application here. And yeah, so this is basically the home page, this index.js for us. And here's where we are going to be doing a lot of stuff. And obviously, because it's a home page and it's the home screen. So you see, they already have a theme and everything here, which we might not need it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up some of the stuff. So I'm not going to be needing the theme provider. So the theme provider is something pretty good from Style Components. If you guys can want to go to the Style Components website, you guys could check that out. But we are not going to be using that in this tutorial, in this build here. And what I want to be doing is, so let me do that step here. So we have a global style, okay? And what the global style is basically the cleanup thing, which I used to do in my React application. So I used to go into the index CSS and used to do these things, right? So they have already done this beforehand for us. And now they're saying cannot, I think I have to just save this maybe. And I think refresh it. And now it might work. So it's Okay, so it's saying there's something wrong inside of my index.js. Okay, so I don't need this, I guess. I'm just gonna remove, and let me actually open my index.js inside of my pages. And yeah, I think now it's going to be fine. Okay, so we don't have any titles. So yeah, obviously style components, right? So we don't have any titles. Let me just return, this is JSX fragment, by the way. So let me just return something for now. Let's just say StarWars and press save here. And yeah, here we go. We're seeing StarWars here. That's great. So this is the starting point for us. And what I want to do now basically is just start. You can just start building the whole application. Just let me get this side by side here. And so let me show you guys the structure of how I'm going to be building this. And by the way, another great advantage of using Next.js is SEO. It's like search engine optimization. And Next.js gives you something called head components. And you know what head components are, right? I mean, if you've used obviously HTML, so what head components contain is something called title. And what you can do, so these are components, so you could reuse them for every page here. And by the way, I actually forgot to tell you guys that it has inbuilt routing. So if you have used React app, if you have seen my previous videos, I used to use something called React Router DOM for navigating between pages. But in Next.js, they have inbuilt routing. So you don't actually have to use any sort of React router. So, and how that inbuilt routing actually works is basically this index.js is your home page, right? So you see, you see this is your home page, right? So what if I want to go to something like characters? In this case, I'm gonna go to something like characters there, right? If I go here, it's actually showing me a 404, and this is also done by Next.js. So if there's a route which is not found, they actually show this 404 error, and you could actually customize this as well, by the way, which is pretty cool. And the way to customize this will be to just create a page here called 404.js, and then you can basically customize this, which is pretty cool. Um, but I'm not going to be doing that, obviously. So, and let me actually hide this real quick. You guys might be seeing an annoying thing here, but that's fine. It will be gone for now. And so the way to do that is basically, let's say I want a slash characters route. So what I can do is basically create a new file and say like characters.js, but that should be inside of my pages, right? And if it is outside of my pages, it's not going to work. Now I could just use an underscore RFCE. And by the way, I'm using underscore since I don't need the React import, and that's not needed in the latest React right now. So now let's just say I want to render characters, right? And let's see if it works now. Let me refresh this. There we go, guys. It works, right? It's showing me characters. I'm rendering out characters there, right? So why is it working is because I created this characters.js and it should be lowercase. It should exactly match how I wrote this. So because it's a page, it's not a component, right? And to create components, obviously we'd be needing a directory, and I'm going to be focusing. So whenever I press escape, for some reason this opens, and I don't want to actually show this. So how to actually, I don't know how to actually hide this permanently, is it's kind of annoying. So let's just keep it for now, maybe, since it's not bothering us. So I'm going to be creating a directory here called components, and all of our components are going to be going inside of this directory. So like back to pages here, and so this is characters, right? And let's say you want to have dynamic routing, and what dynamic routing is, let's say you want to have something else, like you want to render out character 1, right? And then that's still not found, right? So what you can do is, instead of creating a file here, you could have created a characters folder. So if I don't need this, I'm just going to delete this. And let's say I could go back here, and instead of creating a file, if I create a folder this time, and now I could create something called index.js. And after creating that, what I can do is basically, again, RFCE, and So why I'm investing some time into this is because it's a really important aspect of Next.js, and I want to get clear with this. So this is going to be like characters homepage, right? And basically, so again, you're not seeing anything there, but you'll see characters homepage here. But let's say now you want to go into some characters. You want to go into character one, right? And how you're going to actually do that. So now what you can basically do is create another file here, and you can do pass in params here, like id.js. And what this is going to do basically is it's actually going to allow you. So let me actually do this again, and let me name this to character, and let me say character, uh, character, whatever the ID basically is. So I'm just gonna say character for now, and let's see if it actually works right now. Let me refresh that. Here we go, guys. It actually works. So what I basically did here is I created dynamic routing using Next.js, and so powerful, guys. So I went into a character. So this is my characters homepage where all of my characters are going to be rendered. And the way you do this is inside create a folder, and here you can just say index.js. So since the folder name is characters, it's gonna obviously go to that characters, and it's gonna render out the index, and because it's an index.js, it's called, it should be named to index.js. And now if I want to go to inside of any character, so let's say if I press 2, it's still gonna show me character here. If I press 999, something, any number basically, or anything, not necessarily number, anything after this is actually gonna show me the character page, which is dynamic. Obviously, you could change these routes, and I'm gonna show you guys that aspect as well. But for now, I hope you guys got that, because I'm gonna be implementing that as well. So what we're gonna basically do, let's get back to our home page here, and so back to this head components. And now here, what you guys can basically do is this is why is this really good for SEO is basically, so let's say I'm going to be adding StarWars characters here, and StarWars.com, right? What this is basically, so it's actually not defined, so we need to import it from Next.js. So the way to do this is using import head from, and I hope this is, the screen is actually bigger for you guys. I think so. So I'm going to be importing this from next/head and press save. And here we go. So if you look at the top here, again, this annoying thing, let me just move to the bottom. So if you look here, you see StarWars character, StarWars.com. Now what's cool about this is basically, let's say I create another component, and then what's going to happen is basically inside of that component, you could create another of those head components and send a specific information. Like for example, I created a character page before, right? So you could send in the same head, and you could send in the character name here, which we'll be doing actually, and it would be pretty cool, guys. So now let me create a component. So our first component is going to be the home screen container. A home screen container is going to basically be containing everything. And let me actually open this component on my other screen. And it's going to be, it's going to be actually a style component. So it's not going to be a React component. But so if you guys are new to style components, I recommend you guys check out their documentation. It's pretty good. What basically style components are, they allow you to use, so how you basically use style components, first you import something called style from style components. And let's say so you basically write everything in terms of in terms of components here. So let's say I want this as a component. What I can basically do here, I can just say home screen container, and then I could just say style dot div. And what this basically means, if you're new to this, is basically it's going to be a div, right? It's going to be a div, and let's just say it has a class name of obviously it does not have a class name, but it has a class name of home screen container, and that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. But it's much more cleaner than writing div and giving it a class name. Like this feels much more cleaner than writing all that things out. And I'm doing this inside of the same file, but you guys could create another file for this as well, and that's fine too. So there's going to be a home screen container, and inside of my home screen container, I'm going to be having something called a star field. I'm going to be explaining guys what these things are. Star field left, and it's going to be a self-closing tag, and again, this is going to be a style component as well. And then I'm going to be having something called characters container, and this is going to be, and what this is going to be is basically it's going to be this, containing all of these characters, all of these characters. So it's going to be containing a container of all these characters. So characters container. Now inside of my, so there's going to be characters container, and then while outside of my characters container, I'm going to be having my star field right. So since I had the star field left, I'm going to be having, and let me actually show you guys what I mean by the star field. You guys might be confused of what does it actually mean. So what star field is going to be these things. So if I make my screen smaller, I think you guys might be able to see. So this on the sides is actually the star field. So this is the star field left. This is a pretty cool background here, which I'm going to be implementing here. And this is the star field right actually. So now what I can basically do is, so I have the home screen container, and what I can, so let's just use the API to get the information, so we could start working with the characters and we could show all these characters and render all of them on the page. So the way to basically do that is, so we're going to be using static props. So let me introduce you guys to static. I actually did introduce you guys, but let me show you guys again. So these are something, so they are actually functions. So Next.js provides us 3 functions, and those 3 functions are static props, static paths, and server-side props. And we're going to be using static props here. And as I told you, explained you guys before, it's going to be static generation, since all of the data is going to be static, and obviously all the characters are going to be fixed. They're not, the data is not going to be changing for them very frequently. And it's this exact function which I'm going to be copying, right? And I'm going to be going down here. I'm going to be copying and pasting this function here. Now what I basically want inside of this function, right? So it's actually not complete. This is the complete function here, and you guys can read this whole documentation. It's pretty good, but that's how I got to learn Next.js, by the way. They explain you a bunch of stuff, params. So this context basically is basically the params and stuff which you could, let's say, extract the ID from, and it's actually pretty cool, you know, if you guys read this. But let me explain you guys. So it's, if you've used Express before, Express.js or something. I haven't used it, but I know about it. So it's actually pretty similar to that. So you do something called characters, and since we're using a sync function, so we have to use await for that. And I'm going to be fetching from the API. And now let's get to the API and let me show you guys. So this is the API, right? And as you guys can see, there's a base URL and there's a cached CDN. And I'm going to be using the base URL, not the cached CDN. And these are the routes which we'll be needing, all.json. And so if I just show you guys in the Google area here, I might be able to show you guys. And if I say all.json here, if I press enter, here we go, guys. So this is what JSON is actually basically a format, and this all this data is basically in JSON format, and these are all the characters which we are going to be retrieving back. And this is a route, obviously. Now there's this route, ID route, which we're going to be using as well. So to get into a character screen, so all the characters and fetch from this URL. Okay, let me copy this. And in the end, what I basically want is I just want to put all.json, right? And then since it's going to be accepting a promise, so we need to resolve that. And I'm just going to say then, and response. What I'm going to be doing is basically saying, I don't know why is actually, I think my wrapping is not working, I guess, for some reason. Or maybe I just need to press save, I guess something, oh, there's something, so there's something wrong actually, that's why. It's fine. And you're going to be returning the res.json. It's actually working. It was not the end of that. There we go, guys. And that's it. So we're going to be fetching from the URL. We're going to be fetching from the URL, and we're going to be, so this is a promise, and we're going to be resolving that promise, and we're going to be receiving a response from the URL, and we're going to be returning the response as the JSON data, right? And then this return is given to us by the function itself. And what we can basically do then is we can send in props, which we can retrieve it through the component here. And this is pretty powerful, and it's really good, like how Next.js works. And since I created a variable, a constant here called characters, I can basically send the characters inside of these props, and since they're actually in JSON format, I can retrieve them here inside of my home. And that's the whole aspect of actually using Next.js, and it's pretty powerful, you know. And by the way, I just realized something, that my function name is not home. It's actually characters. Let me rename this to characters as well. It's going to be characters. Make sure you guys also rename that. And I'm going to be receiving this through props characters. Save it. And that's it. So these all characters I use retrieved through the fetch URL. I'm going to be receiving inside of my prop, and I'll be able to use them inside of my characters container here. And let's actually do that right now. So let's actually do that. And the way you write obviously JavaScript inside of JSX is by opening curly brackets and do this. I'm going to be using a really powerful function from JavaScript, which is filter. And what filter basically does is you get a character back. So obviously in each of these characters, let me actually first console log this so you guys might understand this better. Let me console log all of my characters, and let me get back to my, actually I could show you guys here as well, I guess. It basically should show you guys, but that's fine. We can just go back to our URL here. There's some problems there. That's fine. We'll figure this out. So they're saying there's an error serializing .characters return from getStaticProps. Let me actually check what is happening. GetStaticProps and cannot be serialized as JSON. These only return JSON serializable data types. Let me see. Let me actually debug this right now. What's the problem here? So if you're using getStaticProps, you're using an async function saying characters is equal to await fetch, and then resolving the response as well. Is this kind of wrong? I think this is correct, right? So API/all.json, and then we are just returning the characters. And let me just remove this command as well. I think it's correct. Like there's nothing wrong here. Then I don't understand what's the problem. What's going on here? Because there's nothing wrong, and there's I don't get it. Why is it actually showing me that error? Actually, correct. Let me run the server again. Let me Control C and yarn dev again. I know what's going on here, but it's actually correct. It's how I basically did it before as well. So it's kind of weird that it's showing me that error. So it's still showing me that error. Okay, great. Let me just debug this real quick in front of you guys. And just basically go to Stack Overflow. Let's check it out. Okay. I mean, you're using, let me see something. So we are actually using getStaticProps, which is exactly correct. we're using await, we're saying const characters. Great. That is actually is this area, is this where I'm actually wrong maybe? I don't think so actually. That's correct too. Where's the part where I'm actually wrong? Oh, this is the part where I'm actually wrong. There we go, guys. So I was not putting brackets. Oh shit, guys. You see, this small error actually got me. And now obviously why, so don't freak out, guys. This is not because of that. This is just because I'm actually using style components, and whenever you're using style components, you have to actually define all of your components here. So what I'll basically do, I'll just copy this real quick and just paste it here. And since it's going to be a div as well, and my characters container as well, and let me just save that real quick. There's one more, and there's going to be starfield, right. There we go. Let me save it. I think that's it. Now it should work. Here we go, guys. So let me open the console. Let me look at my. So here we go, guys. Here we are getting back the data. Let's go, guys. You're getting the data back from the API, and these are all. So these are all of my characters here, which are console logged on the top, and I'm getting them back. So what I basically wanted to show you guys is basically to click here. You guys can see that each of these is basically a character, right? So what I'm basically doing is retrieving that character, okay? And I'm gonna be doing something something weird here. I'm gonna be explaining you guys why. So I only want to return. So what filter basically does is returns an array. It does not return a single value. It returns a full array. And I don't want to return these two values. And why I don't want to basically return these two values is because and what basically this means is I don't want to return the character number 28 and the character number 77. And the reason is because the API had broken images for them. So there were actually no images rendering out for those two characters. So I decided to actually remove them. And you couldn't even add additional images. I tried that way as well, but it was not working. So I decided to actually remove those two characters. I'll actually show you guys if I don't use this filter thing and what's going to happen. So now I'm just going to be mapping. So since it actually returns me a filtered array, and that filtered array will be an array without these two characters, then I can basically map. And what I can, when I basically map, what I can retrieve is the character and the index. And then what I can basically do, since I got the character and the index, and let me actually, because I'm getting two values, I have to use brackets here, and character and index. And then I'm going to be saying index should be less than my value. And I know it's a lot to take in, guys, but I'll explain you guys each and every step what I'm actually doing here. And now I'm going to be rendering out a component here called character. Okay, and this is going to be a React component, by the way. This is not going to be a style component, since I'm going to be sending some props here, and I'm going to be sending my character, which I basically retrieved through my map, not through my filter, through my map. Okay, and then I'm going to be sending something called key, because keys are really important in Next.js. They allow you to so they allow a component not to be re-rendered basically if you pass in a key. So they're super important, guys. And what the key basically can be is it can be the character.id, right? So we had something called ID here, if you guys see. So for every character we have something called ID. And what I can do, so what the value basically is going to be, let me remove the console log. And the value it will be a piece of state. So I'll use useState. So value and set value, and by default it's going to be 12. So I showed you guys in the starting, I showed you guys something called a show more button here. So by default it only shows me 12 characters, right? 444, right? And when I click show more, it shows me 12 more. So this is how I'm going to be handling this this button and this effect basically. So if you guys don't want to do this, and if you guys want to show all the characters at once, don't do this step. Like don't create a piece of state called value and don't do this step. Index is less than just render out all the characters at once, and it's gonna render out each of those characters. But I kind of wanted to show you guys how to do that if you wanted to. So yeah, let's just go back. And so by default it's gonna be 12. And what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be creating a button, right? So that show more button, right? And there's gonna be a function called handle show more. So whenever I click on that button, let me actually create that function as well. There's going to be a function called handle show more. So whenever I basically click on that button, what's going to happen is it's going to set the value. Okay, it's going to set the value to value plus 12. So whatever the value is, obviously, it's going to add 12 more to it. And that's what's going to happen basically when you click on the show more button. Obviously, there's no show more button right now, but I'm actually explaining you guys beforehand since you're going to be using this function. And now here, when I'm retrieving a single character, what I'm basically checking is if the index, so what the index actually start from 0. So I'm checking the index of the character, right? So obviously, and comparing it the value. So initially it's going to be 12, the value. So it's going to check and it's going to only display, let's say from 0 to 11, because indexes start from 0. So 0 to 11, which means obviously 12 characters. And then when we click on the show more, it's going to add more to it and it's going to display more. And this logic is it works pretty well, guys. So I think my characters container is pretty much finished. Let me see what the problem is right now. Use state is not defined. We have to import our use state. So if I go here, if I press, let me just auto import this from React and let me save it. And it should be, so character, obviously, since I told you guys character is a React component and I have to actually create that. So character.js and components, obviously they need to be uppercase. And I'm going to be using underscore RFCE. And let's just say character for now. Okay. And that's it. I think it should be working now. Obviously, I need to import that as well. So I need to go to my character here, press auto import again, and press save. And here we go, guys. The page refreshes, and here we go, guys. Characters. So these are 12 characters, guys. Remember, I told you there'll be only 12 values. Now let me close this and let me go back here. And so what we can do now is, so do you guys want me to do the character information, like render out the character information, or maybe let's just finish the home screen, yeah? So it might look a little bit better than how it's looking now. So now what I basically want to do, let's actually get to style this. So another thing, basically let me create that button as well. And how I'm going to be doing that button is basically the value needs to be less than the characters.length, right? And then only I'm going to be rendering out that button. And why I'm actually doing that, guys. So if you go here, right, if you go to the develop build, and if you go here and you see I'm actually keep on clicking this button, but this button is actually going to disappear once there's no more characters, once the array basically finishes. So if I click show more again, here we go, guys. There's no button here. You see no button. And this is how basically StarWars original website was built, and you guys could check it out. They have a show more here, and if you keep on clicking this, it actually disappears once there's no more information. And that's what I basically did here. And how I basically did is I said if the value is less than the characters.length, then only I basically want to show the button. And if the value increases, so it goes more than the length of the array, I don't want to show the button. And it's going to be the button here. I think it's going to be a style component. Yeah, it's going to be style component button. And it's going to be saying show more. Obviously, as I told you guys, it's going to be having an on click. And on click is going to be handle show more. And that's it. let's just save it. And since it's a style component button, I need to obviously create this, otherwise it's gonna freak out. So I think it's gonna be a button, so it's gonna be style.button, not div. And this is pretty cool, guys. So you can do this with style components. So if you want to render an H1 with a style component name, you could pretty much do that as well. You could use all the HTML tags like this in this manner. And there's other bunch of cool aspects to the style component, which I'm going to be showing you guys. And it's pretty damn awesome, guys. Believe me. Let's get back to the website. And here we go, guys. This is the button. Let's actually check if this is working. Let me click on this. Boom, guys. You see 12 more characters. Let me click again. And it should disappear, obviously, once there's no more characters in the array. There we go, guys. There's obviously the array is complete now, so there's no more characters, and it actually disappeared. As soon as I refresh, I think it's gonna be 12 again. So that's pretty cool, guys. And you see, it's looking horrible right now, and we're gonna take this to this. I mean, obviously, that's something, guys. Now let's actually start designing this. Get into the CSS. So for my characters container, first of all, so let me go here, characters container. I'm going to be displaying it as flex. I'm using display flex and giving me a margin top of 200 pixels. And there's a reason why I'm actually doing that, because of my header and nav bars here, these things here, that's why. So there will be a padding of 30 pixels, and there's going to be a justify content of center, and then there's going to be a gap of 25 pixels, and then there's going to be a flex wrap, and I'll explain you guys each of these things. So what flex wrap does is basically when you display something as flex, right? And what the gap is, so let me tell you gap first. So what gap is basically the gap between the margin between the children, and you don't have to specify margin right and left. It just basically gives the margin between all the children, all the characters basically. And what flex wrap basically does it, so it's very responsive. So you guys can see, right? As soon as I go and minimize the screen, you guys can see it's wrapping, right? So this is what flex wrap does. If I don't do this, it's not gonna wrap. Yeah, here you guys can see it's not wrapping, right? It's not wrapping. Everything's in line and it's not looking good right now. And as soon as I save that, it's wrapping everything as soon as we go. So it's pretty responsive now. And I'm going to be providing a background color, and the background color is going to be a custom color of 1515 15. There we go. So this is going to be the background color. Obviously now it's not looking good. We're going to be making it look good. So now let me actually bring these two things down, and let me show you guys a very cool aspect of style components. So since I have the star field left and right, so both of these are going to have some common things, for which I'm going to be creating something called star field only, right? And why I'm doing that is because they're just different in position, right? I mean, obviously they're exactly the same, but the position is different. This is going to be on the left, this is going to be on the right. The similarity, so what's really cool about style components is you could do something called, so let's say if I want to extend my styles to this here, right? And let me put this comment out as well for you guys, extending styles, so you guys remember this. What this basically does, so you can put brackets here, and what you can do is you can say star field. Now what's gonna happen, and you just put your backticks here. What's gonna happen is gonna take all the styles from star field, but whatever you put in inside of this is gonna extend to that. And that's damn awesome, guys. That's really good about style components. So if I say position of fixed and a width of 200 pixels and a top of 0 and a background repeat of no, I think no, we need a repeat of y, actually, repeat y, a background repeat of repeat y. There's some, okay, no. So I mean, so these styles will be applied to both of these, right? both of these, but only the difference is gonna be whatever you put it inside of this, and we have to do the same exact thing. And instead of saying div here as well, just put backticks, and that's like a really good thing about style components. Now what we can basically do, so I said position fixed, and why basically did it, because if you guys scroll down into the actual application, you guys can see it's not actually moving, right? And that's how, so it's everything is taken from the StarWars actually their own website, so it's not moving here as well, you guys can see. And that's the exact effect I'm actually having, right? Which is pretty cool. So now let me get back and let me say left of 0, and let me give a height of 1700 pixels, a background position, what, sometimes the IntelliSense doesn't work and so annoying. Left and center, and everything by the way is actually taken from the StarWars. You guys, if you guys want to just quickly copy it, you can just copy it right now, you know. And background size is going to be 100% auto, and there's going to be a background image for which I'm actually going to navigate to my repo to actually get the URL for the image. Let me actually get back to my repo here, and let me open the pages, and let me open index.js, and let me get that the URL. This is the URL which I'm looking for. So let me get the URL and let me paste it there. There we go. So what this basically means is obviously it's going to be a URL. So actually remove. So I think we need this. So it's going to be a background image, and let's actually check if it's actually coming here. There we go, guys. Boom. It's actually there. This is pretty cool, guys. And it's gonna be exactly the same for my style field, right? I think the background image is gonna be different, maybe. Yeah. So the background image is actually gonna be different. It's gonna be for the right one. I'm gonna be using this. You might think that it's actually the same, but it's actually not the same. And the reason for that is it's a bit different in the StarWars website for this one. And let me copy it, paste it there. And obviously now it's on top of this because it's left. But as soon as I say right here, guys, watch what happens. Boom, guys. It actually goes on the right side, which is pretty cool, guys. So remember, these are not the only styles. These styles are also applying here, right? Because we're extending to that, and that's really cool. So now we have a height. We just need to say right here as well. Since it's gonna be position is gonna be right and center. And this is going to be the other way around as well. It's going to be auto and 100%, and everything is pretty much the same. Height is going to be the same, everything else is the same. So that's pretty much done. Now there's a huge code of block which I need for the button, which I'm actually going to copy because I don't think I can just explain it. It's pretty easy, and I could just explain you guys this what it means basically. We have some hover, so let me just do the hover effect so you guys not let me go here and let me go here and paste this in. And here's the button, guys. Now obviously it's not looking I mean it's not looking the way we want basically. So we have some stuff here. There's a color, there's like a, let me first see this. Okay, this is great. So we have a color, we have a background color of transparent, we have a border of none, font family inherit, margin left and right of auto. We have a margin top and bottom, we have font size and a display, and we have a transition here. And the transition is basically this is going to give this beautiful effect, which we have for the button here. If I go down, I think to refresh this. So you see this beautiful effect when you hover over this button. This is the transition. I mean, obviously I have to do this as well, but the transition actually gives this beautiful effect. And this is the transition which StarWars were using. Now, so what you can basically do with style components, guys, is let's say you wanna. So when we're doing this inside of the normal CSS, how we basically do is let's say we have a button and we say it like this, and actually not like this, and we just say like hover like this, right? But in style components, you don't have to say that. It basically understands that if you're inside of this, right? If you're inside of this component here, and we just use colon hover, it's gonna understand that you are applying it on the button itself. So I'm gonna say on hover, I want the color to be and the cursor to be pointer, color to be white. And then there's going to be something called an hover and an after state. And what's going to happen on this is, so many people get confused when you're using after. What after basically means is it's just gonna give some effects when you hover over the button. So right now you cannot see the button because of the background actually, which actually I'm gonna fix in a second. So right now I'm just gonna give a border button color of FFF, and I'm also gonna give a width of 100%, right? And then I'm gonna be using the after. So let me actually so what I'm actually doing. So what after basically is whenever you say something called after, you always have to specify content. So these are pseudo classes here, which I'm doing, and there's one more called before and after, and what it basically does is before the so after basically means after the button here, and before means the before the button here, but that depends on the position you provide, right? So let's say you want to have a border button, but you're using a div. Let's say you're using a div after the button to provide a border on that div. But what if you don't want to use a div and you just want to just do it without using the div? You want to provide a, let's say a div. I mean a border bottom. Sorry, for the button. So what you can basically do, you can use after and before pseudo elements. In this case, you're going to be using after since it's going to be after, and that's what basically we're going to be working on. But it all depends on the position, right? So if I'm going to be saying display block, and what display block is going to do is going to be after means this right now, because it's going to be blocked now, right? So display block, and I'm going to be giving a width 40% and a margin of 0 and auto. And by the way, if you guys are wondering how I'm actually getting some of the intelligence, so what you guys can do is download an extension called style components. This one basically actually gives you some really good intelligence for in my case. I think my laptop is a bit slow, so that's why I'm not seeing that, but for your case it will be working correctly. I'm going to be targeting the opacity of 0.9. I'm going to be giving a border button of 1 pixels, solid and transparent. It's going to be transparent. So there's a border button, 1 pixel, solid, transparent. Now guys, here's a cool thing. Now I'm going to be adding some animations to this after pseudo class here. Let me type animations there. And here guys, here's the interesting thing. Let me get it from my repo, so it might be easier, and let me just explain you guys what these animations are. These are basically transitions, not exactly anime, but you could call them animations as well. And what they're gonna do is basically they're gonna provide that slick effect which I told you guys, right? I mean, obviously on the button, this is on the button, right? And this is the transition for the border color, right? So the border color you can see, right? It actually fades out and actually comes in, right? Which is pretty cool, guys. So I'll be doing through these animations. And for the width as well, right? For the border color and the width basically. So width is actually 40%, but you see guys, as soon as I'm hovering over the after pseudo class, the width is actually 100%. So that's actually this effect you guys can see. So width is going from 40 to 100%, and all these slick things are happening because of these animations here. I'm pretty much done with this. I think we are pretty much done with our home screen, I guess. Let me quickly check it again. We don't have anything missing here. I don't think so. We have everything completed. So Now I just want to go to my app.js and make some changes, since we are going to be doing some changes. So there's going to be some annoying margins at the top. So if you guys have watched my previous build, I always like to clean up those margins by selecting everything and saying margin 0. And but it does not, by the way, happen on the body margin. So you have to select everything and to remove that unnecessary margin on top. So you guys can see it actually, the margins are removed now. And now I wanted to actually do one more thing, the font basically. And you guys could also download this. So I'm using this font, and this is what StarWars were basically using their website. And this font is pretty hard. You cannot find on Google Fonts. So it's pretty hard. So I just found it, and I provided a link in the description, so you guys could go ahead and download that. And I'm going to be using the background color, font family, all these things. I'm just going to be copying in this. I just copied it from React application. It's pretty similar, and there's some font smoothing and some stuff like that. And let's get back to our website. Boom, guys, you can see as soon as I save that, guys, see what's the effect. So why we couldn't see that is because of the background color, obviously. So if I don't do the background color, you cannot see the button. As soon as I save that, here we go, guys. See that beautiful effect. And also the font, guys, it actually matters a lot to change the font. So that's looking really nice, but the top part is actually not looking how we want, right? Also, the sides are actually looking cool right now. So let's work on displaying the information, the characters, so we could see the characters running out. And the way we're going to do that is obviously by going to our character component which we created. And another thing I actually wanted to, so let me actually get back to my app.js and what we are going to be doing here, guys. So I don't have, so you guys can see I have the header. This is going to be the header, and there's a navbar, and I'll also have the footer, guys. If you notice, I have the footer, some beautiful links here, which I actually did it. And this is the same effect as this button, you guys can see. So I'm going to be having a header and a footer as well. And they're going to be basic. So if you want in Next.js, if you want anything to be displayed on every page, what you can do is basically include that component here inside of your app.js. And I'm going to be actually doing that. So inside of my app.js here, I'm going to be including, after my global style, a header. So all these are going to be components. There's going to be a header, there's going to be a navbar, and then there's going to be a footer, and obviously the footer is going to be, so this thing which you're seeing here, guys, this is these are all your pages inside of Next.js, right? All of these routes basically. So your home route, whatever the other routes you create, all of these are actually sent through this. Anything you include, any other component is going to be displayed on every page basically. So since I want my footer and header to be on every page, and you might be wondering what the header and navbar is, right? So this top part here, guys, is the header, this top part. This thing here, this strip, right? This thing, these links, this is the navbar. I want to create this separately, so we could maybe potentially use it, try to use it again if you want. And this thing is going to be the footer, obviously. Now it's actually erroring us, saying obviously these components are not defined, so I have to create all of these components, quickly create them. It's going to be header.js underscore rfce. Press enter, and I have to save it as well. Then I have to create a navbar. So navbar.js underscore rfce. And I also have to create footer.js and underscore rfce, and save it. Save that as well. So now it should not error out, and everything should be working fine, I suppose. Oh, I need to actually import them as well, right? So I just quickly auto import them. Press control and space, auto import this, control and space, and auto import this as well. There we go. Everything's auto imported. Save it again, and now it should be working. Yeah, let's go, guys. So it's actually working now. Now we can actually work on the header and the navbar, or we can just work on the characters. I think we should work on the characters first, so we see the information displaying. So let's actually work on the character first. So let me go back to my components. And you guys, if you guys notice, I was sending a prop for my character here, and this is the prop which I'm sending, the character. And you guys could destructure it here, or you can just use props if you want to. This is the way we retrieve props basically. So I'm going to be destructuring, and you could just console log to see what information. But basically, it has all that ID and name and all that stuff basically. So the character we're receiving here, and now I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having a character container here. So I always like to have containers when I'm using style components, since they help out a lot basically. And inside of my container, I'm going to be having a link, and this is not going to be a link component. It's going to be obviously it's going to be a component, sorry, but I think it's going to be a link from a Next.js, right? The Next.js provides us something called links. It's similar to in React Router we used to get links, right? So it's similar to that. Let me just quickly import them from next/link, and as is going to be small as well. Now, what link basically gives us, it gives us an href. It's actually exactly similar to the anchor tag in HTML. It's exactly similar to that anchor tag. And what we can, guys, so what we can basically do here, right, is I could use backticks here, and since I want to use template strings here, and I can do something on /id, and I could say slash. Now I can do basically here is I could just say character, and I'm gonna explain you guys what this means basically. Character.id and .json. And I showed you guys, right? So for every character, there's something called, so if you go back to the API, you'll see this /id now, right? Or basically, so if you want to get all the characters, right? You say something like all the JSON, but what if you want to get a specific character? So you do this way. So you say /id, and you say slash whatever the character ID basically is. So if it's a character 1, it's going to be 1.json. If it's 2, it's going to be 2.json, and so on, and that's what exactly I'm doing here. So I want the user to navigate to that exact page, right? So it actually matches that route, right? Because I have the base URL figured out here. And all I want to basically do inside of my character is I want to take the user to /id and slash whatever the character id.json is, exactly as shown here, right? And then it's gonna freak out right now because you don't have any character container. Let me quickly actually import my style. You're gonna be needing style. So, and now let me copy this, say const, and let me just say style .div, and let me save it. Now it should not freak out, and it should be there. Okay, again freaked out. It's saying React shouldn't expect to receive a single React element child. I think we'll figure that out. Just figure that out. I think it's because maybe figure that. Let's figure that out. So inside of my link, I'm using a normal anchor tag basically, and inside of my anchor, so this is obviously we're not going to be using an href. So I'm going to be using an image here, and the reason why I'm actually using an anchor, I could probably not use an anchor tag, but I think it was because if I don't use an anchor tag, I couldn't style this as a link. So if you use an anchor tag, it's gonna be better. And inside of my source, what I basically wanted is obviously the character.image. So that we're retrieving an image basically, right? And for the all, we could just say character dot name, right? I mean that would be appropriate. As soon as I save that, we should. Is this? I think this should be. So why is it actually saying? It's fine. Now it's working. Here we go, guys. It's huge images. You guys can see huge images, right? And obviously these are rendering out because because I did this, right? Character than image. But obviously we're going to be styling these things so that they look good. But you see, actually, they're rendering out as huge images, right? Now, what I want to do outside of this link is I basically want to have another of my link, um, and I just want to close this link, and I want to do some similar stuff. I want to have an anchor tag, and for my anchor tag, I don't need an href. For my anchor tag, I need h1 here. I just want to say character.name, and I'm having the name inside of my character, so I'm making it a link basically. And obviously now I'm doing the same exact stuff. What I basically want to do is get this here href and paste it here. So obviously, so either on if I click on either of these things, it's actually going to navigate me back to the specific character page. And why I actually didn't want it to do on the whole component is basically when you go here, guys, you don't see a link, right? You don't want the users to see a link here. So I did it separately, and that was the only reason. You see, and these are all the subtle things, which matter in the UI, which makes and transforms the UI basically. So that's it. So you guys can see the image is a link now, and obviously we're not seeing any text actually. Oh, we are seeing any. So where's Luke actually? I cannot see Luke's name. It's fine. I'm actually seeing this name. So this is the link actually, and I think it's because of the styling. The styling is pretty messed up right now, and we have to figure that out. And outside of this link, guys, I'm going to be having something called Decal. Now, what a Decal basically is going to be, and since it's a style component, I always need to do this. Otherwise, it's going to freak out again. And what a decal is going to be is basically going to be this thing. These two stripes you can see is a decal basically. Now let's just get styling this. So for my character container, it's going to be a div obviously, and so it's basically this. I'm going to be saying a border radius. So there's going to be a border radius of 6 pixels. Then there's going to be a width, and the width is going to be of 266 pixels. And then there's going to be a background color. Background color is going to be of 282727. Then there's going to be a position of relative. I messed up my position, that's fine. And why I'm doing this as relative, because I want something inside of my character container to be positioned absolute, that's right. And it's going to be the decal if you guys guess it. And then there's going to be a transition, which I want smooth transition, all 0.25 seconds, and it's going to be ease. It's going to be a simple one. And there's going to be an overflow of hidden as well. So if I don't do the overflow hidden, the border radius might mess up. So it's always good to do that. The z index of 1 basically, right? Now what I want to do is whenever someone hovers over the characters container, I want to give a very nice animation kind of thing, right? I don't want to make it look boring, if someone hovers and nothing happens, that's a kind of boring thing. So I want to transform and scale. So when you use scale, actually makes it you can make it bigger or smaller, right? I'm gonna just scale it slightly, so it actually changes the UI. Right now it's actually doing horrible because the image size is huge, but you guys could see this, right? So inside my build application, you can see when I hover over this beautiful scaling effect, right? Obviously it gives a feel that it's actually real, it doesn't feel boring, so that's it. And then what I can do in style components, I had these, so I'm mixing up, you guys can see I'm mixing up the HTML tags inside of my style components. You could pretty much do this with style components. Now what you can basically do inside of my characters container, I have the link, right? So inside of my link, and this was the thing I was talking about. So this does not actually, I mean, this is exactly the same as the anchor tag, but when you want to style it, it does not actually happen to be a tag. So you have to use an a tag in order to do that. I mean, you cannot do a inside a like this, and that's not gonna work. So it's just one a tag, and the one a tag is gonna be this anchor tag. It's not gonna be this. It's gonna be this one. And inside of my a tag, what I can basically do is I can target the image. I can basically pretty much, let me just copy that. It's pretty simple. I'm just giving some properties to the image. And here we go. Let me just copy it real quick. Let me actually make this here so it'll be easier to navigate for me. I'm just going to save that. Boom, guys. So you see, what I'm actually giving is I'm giving the border left and left radius and top radius. And why I'm actually doing that is to obviously so it doesn't have any conflicts with the outer radius here. So it's always good to do that. I'm giving a width, a height, and a border bottom. And width, height for every for every character must be the same, right? You don't want to have this one bigger than this, right? Everything needs to be equal. So, and a border bottom, which is basically this thing here. You see, a nice little border bottom here. It's looking pretty nice. Now I want to target my so inside of my A, I have H1, right? You guys can see I have an H1 here inside, and that's gonna be my name. Now for my name, let me just copy a bunch of styles as well. And don't worry, I'll explain you guys everything. Let me just save it first of all. Boom, guys. So you guys won't even notice what happened there, right? It's so fast. Like as soon as let me just do this, and let me just save this. You see, everything's transformed. So what I basically did so this is an H1 tag, right? So I have a background image, right? So you see the background image, the stripes here. So those are the background images I got from StarWars. I gave some padding, a display of inline block, and a color, obviously, a font size, text transform them to uppercase, and I give a border bottom and a bottom right radius. I actually quite don't know why I actually did that, but that's fine. So to maintain the consistency, and I give a transition. So whenever I give transitions, you guys might know, obviously I might have a hover effect in there. Like that's the whole point of having transitions, right? So you can change the colors and the backgrounds using the hover effects. Now I have a custom color 9E4F60, 4F60. I'm just gonna save that. And as soon as I hover, you see guys, it's a beautiful effect. And now it's actually looking pretty much identical to our end goal here. So this is the one, right? This is the one deployed application. And you guys can see there's no header in that bar, but it's actually looking really nice now. And even if I click here, it's actually working, which is beautiful. And it's a bit, you guys can see it's a bit delay right now. There's no not delay, but it's slight slow. But what actually happens when you're using it on the development server, it's not actually building it. It's not actually building it. So if you guys go here, and if I go, so it's not actually fetching the data at build time. When you're using the development server, but when you actually deploy this, it actually fetches the data at build time. So I'll be able to show you guys this when I click on the character and go into the character screen. And right now it's super fast here. There's no delay. If I click on the character screen, there's no delay and nothing is loading. It's all information static and it's all there, right? But for this one, there is going to be a delay, and that's the reason, because it's not actually fetching everything at build time in the development server. It's only going to happen in deployment. So now this is looking nice. I'm sending the keys as well, so those are important. And this is done. So the last thing we have to do is a decal, right? We have to send, and it's like very subtle thing, but you guys can pretty much copy this as well. It's not a very huge deal here. It's just gonna transform the UI a bit. Boom, guys, you guys can see. And why I did position relatives, I wanted to position absolute. This basically has an opacity, so if I don't do that, you see it's completely white. So I'm giving a slight opacity, a height and a width. There's gonna be obviously a background image, and this is just the positioning basically. And I'm transforming again the positioning. Background positioning is again the positioning. So I would say just pretty much copy. It's not very necessary to understand everything here. It's just a small UI thing here, right? But everything else is running. I think we are pretty much done with our character as well right now. So we've pretty much completed this, and we can move on to create the header, the character screen, the nav bar, and the footer, obviously. That's going to be important as well. So yeah, let's actually create the header and the navbar. That's gonna be cool. So I have some components and stuff here, right? Let me move to the header actually, and let me navigate to header on another screen. Now, as usual, you guys know I like to have containers when I'm using style components. Let's start with a container. And if you guys notice, it's so clean, right? I mean, using style components actually makes a huge difference, right? Everything's so clean. There's no class name, nothing's conflicting anything, and you have your styling as separate from the actual code. I mean, right? It looks so nice there, right? So I'm personally a huge fan of style components, and I'm gonna be having a header left. And obviously, since I have the header left, you guys guessed it, I have the header right as well, right? And inside of my header left, I'm going to be having some social links. And I think this is going to be my React component, and it's not going to be the style component. And what I mean by social links inside my header left is basically these things. So these are the social links. So this is a component I created. And why I basically created this as a component is because it's actually used in the footer back here. And it's exactly similar to StarWars. Like if you go to the actual StarWars, they have this here. And then if you go and navigate to their footer, they have it back here again. So that's how I actually created this once as a component and then just replicated this. And that's it. So this is going to be called social links. Then outside of my header left, I'm going to be having a link. And again, you guys might have guessed it's going to be linked from Next. And it's going to be having an href. Again, since I want to style this, I want to have an anchor tag, but without an href. Inside of my anchor tag, I just want to have an image, and the image is going to have a source, and that source is going to be for the StarWars logo, right? Let me get back to my header and let me see the source here. So this is going to be the source, and you guys could pretty much copy it. So GitHub repo is obviously linked in the description. Just copy everything which you guys want to. This is going to be the source. Obviously, nothing's going to be, it's going to freak out because we don't have any style components right now. So let me quickly get style first of all, and then let me create and copy this const container, header container, and style.div, and let me just copy this a bunch of times. It's gonna be in header left, and then there's gonna be so there's not gonna be there's gonna be in header right as well, and then let's remove this for now. Obviously there's no social links, so let's create that component as well. Social links.js underscore rce, and let's quickly save it so it doesn't freak out, and let's actually import it as well real quick. There we go. I think everything's fine now, and it should not freak out. We don't have an href, so whenever we use next links, we have to provide an href. It's necessary. If you don't have an href, it's gonna freak out. So it's gonna take me back to the home route, right? Since this is so obviously now this is not going to be a different route, but I'm going to be using my header in several different pages. So whenever I click on the logo, I want to get back to my, and it's huge, you guys can see, because the image is huge right now. I'm going to be showing you, so you see, you guys can see it's actually black, and we have a white logo here. And how do I actually do that? Like, can you convert black images to white and white to black? I'm using a pretty cool CSS trick, and I'll show you guys that as well. I think it showed that in my previous clone as well, but this one here, I'm gonna repeat it and show you guys again. And that's gonna be pretty cool, guys. So I have the image as a link header. So for my header right, inside of my header, I have a bunch of stuff. I have a header search, and header search is gonna be style component again. Header search is gonna have an input type of text, and then there's going to be a placeholder. The placeholder is just going to say search StarWars, right? And there's going to be an image. Again, we have a source, a huge URL. Let me just copy it. It's going to be an SVG. Let me put it here. Copy it to it. That's fine. So this is gonna be the source here, and I think that's it for header search. And just save it and just go back to the website. Again, header search is not going to be defined. Obviously, we need to create this as a style component. And let me go here, save it. I think it should be now. Obviously, you see huge search logo here, and obviously, I'm gonna design it, so it's actually doing horrible right now. But I just want to complete this so we can just get to styling then. So still inside of my header, right? I'm gonna be having header actions. Now what our header actions is gonna be is basically, again, is gonna be a style component, and header actions is basically this part there. So this thing, these two links are gonna be header actions inside of a header actions div. Now header actions is gonna have two buttons. Obviously these two are buttons, and both the buttons, first one is gonna say login, and they're not functional anymore. So I didn't actually create the login and the sign up screen. So it did not actually make any sense to create that, because I was not doing anything after logging and creating an account. So it was just the user was not actually, like, there was no difference even after you logged in. Like, you just want to display some characters, and you should not have a login process for that. I mean, it does not make sense, but I kind of had that for the UI purpose. And span is going to contain two slashes here, and that's it. I think that's it. We're complete with our JSX. Now let's get back to styling. Header container. So for my header container, I'm going to be having a padding of 20 pixels. I'm going to be having a padding button of 0. I want to say any padding bottom. I'm going to be having a background image, and there's going to be a background image. I'm going to show you guys what's going to be the background image. So if I go here, you see there's a background, right? Stars, right? So that's the background image I'm talking about. Go here and could just copy this out, background image, and it's going to be a URL. I'm going to like this here. Again, just copy this. It's fine. Background image. So I'm going to be having background image. I'm going to be displaying everything. Flex inside of this. Display flex. I'm going to be saying align items of center. And I'm also going to be saying justify content of space between, and position of fixed. And why I'm actually doing this, guys, is because the header is going to be fixed, right? It's not going to be moving anywhere. So I'm just going to be using position of fixed, a right of 0. So whenever you say position fixed, you always have to do this. You have to determine from where it's going to be fixed, right? So I'm going to say top 0, right 0, left 0, 2, and Z index. I want it to be on top of everything. So I'm going to say 999, a huge value. So I don't want to, I want my header basically to be on top of everything, right? Header actions is not defined. Again, header actions, save it. And huge, you see the the background image again is huge, and we're not seeing any information right now. But we're obviously we're gonna be figuring that out, right? Now inside of my header container, I have a link, and inside of my link, I have an image, right? Now for my image, I want to say object fit. So what object fit, if you're new to this property, what it basically does is maintains the aspect ratio, so it doesn't stretch the image in any way. And object fit contain, basically, obviously, margin top margin top is gonna be -40. Now I'm saying -40 here, and there's a reason why I'm actually doing that. And as soon as we see the image, it's going to be clear to you guys. And margin bottom is going to be -20 pixels. There's going to be a height of 180 pixels, and then there's going to be filter, which is a very cool trick which I was talking about, to change the color of the image. And it's actually magical, guys. It's actually magical. When I first saw this, I was shocked that you could do something like this using CSS, and you could just say invert brightness. So you say filter brightness 0. So because it's black right now, right? So it's just saying brightness of 0 and invert it back to 1. Boom, guys. You see this. If I undo this, you don't see because it's black, right? So you obviously can't see that. As soon as I do that, guys, boom, it's actually turned to white. Like black image is turned to white, and it's really good since because it's an SVG, I guess. So it's really clean, guys. This is looking horrible still, and we don't have the social links component, right? So we need that as well. But you guys can see, right, because of the height right now, it's actually looking better because we have height and everything's kind of into place right now. But obviously, again, we need to do some more stuff here. Now I'm gonna be designing the header search, and there's a bunch of stuff here, guys. There's a bunch of stuff, and I'm just gonna copy it and explain you guys again. This is pretty easy again. I don't want to waste spend so much time on it. So just save it. Yeah. So what I'm basically doing, so it's a div, right? Header search. What I'm basically doing is giving a width, a main width, a border radius. So you can see the borders turning around that border radius. A box shadow is none. There's no box shadow basically. I don't actually have to do this if there's no box shadow. There's no border. A position of relative because I'm gonna be pushing absolute inside of my header search, so you can see the search and everything. I'm gonna be pushing absolute. And giving it a width, opacity, right? Opacity of points, and it's a very subtle, but why is she doing this twice? Okay, I don't do that. You see, guys? So as soon as I do that, there's a subtle opacity, right? And then there's a transition, obviously. So I'm going to be having something with hover and focus states. Then there's align items. I'm displaying everything as flex. And by the way, don't confuse this with these are header actions. This is another div. I'm just talking about the header search right now. And a padding basically, and that's it, guys. And that's pretty much it. Now, since we have a transition, obviously you're going to be doing something with focus. And for some reason, focus was not working here, so I used focus within. And as soon as I did that, the opacity actually worked. So when you actually focus, and what focus basically means is when you click on it, right? There we go. As soon as I click, the opacity turns back to 1, which is pretty clean, right? Obviously, I need to design the input now. It's going to be coming now. So I'm going to be targeting my input. Again, let me just, it's very simple and very subtle right now. So let me copy this. There's going to be a background of transparent. As soon as I do that, guys, beautiful effect, right? And that's just the opacity I showed you before. The background transparent and outline of none. So what outline none basically does, if you see this blue outline, as soon as I say none, actually disappears and doesn't come then. And there's a font weight which actually targets the placeholder here. Actually, not the placeholder, is a font weight is basically for whatever you type here. So if you want to target the placeholder, you could do something called input, which I'm going to be doing here. And you can say input place, place hold, not like this, place holder. I cannot type right now. Input placeholder. So you can target. So this is a pseudo thing which you can do. And you can just say opacity, turn it back to 1 for the placeholder, and give it a color of gray, and save it. As soon as I do that, you see the placeholder actually turns gray. So if you guys cannot see that, just let me turn it back to red, and you guys can see it turns to red, which looks horrible, right? So here we go. So that's how you target the placeholder, and this pretty simple stuff again. Now I want to target the image, and the image, you guys guessed it, is the search icon, right? And for the image, I just want to say it's very simple. Just 2 things I want to say. Object file of contain to maintain the aspect ratio and give it a height of 20 pixels. And that's it. As soon as I do that, boom, it actually comes into place, and it's looking really nice, right? So it's looking really nice right now, the search thing. Now I want to target my header actions, which is containing these 2 buttons and the span tag. So you guys cannot see the 2 slashes in between, but there are 2 slash. But it's black, obviously, so you can't see it. Now I want to say a width 100%, and another column, semicolon, margin top, a margin top of 10 pixels, So it has some spacing from top, color of hash 999, display. Obviously, now the buttons are going to be displayed as flex, align items of center, and there's going to be justify content of, and it's going to be flex and actually, it's not going to be space between. And why I'm actually doing flex and is basically takes these two buttons to the end there, you guys can see. So if I do something called center right now, it's gonna bring that into the center here. But if I do flex and, it actually brings it to the end of that, right? Which is pretty nice. And this is the way I basically want them to be. And you guys can see as soon as I change the color, you can see the slashes in between as well. Now inside of my header actions, I want to target the buttons, right? I want to target my buttons. For my buttons, I want the background of transparent. I also want my font family of, so buttons usually don't have the font family which we typically define. So they are usually the font, there's a different font than the default font family for them. So you always have to do inherit for that. And then you have to do font weight of 600. And now you cannot see because the background is transparent right now. And there's going to be a border of none. And then there's going to be a color of 999. As soon as I save that, boom, guys, you guys can see. Beautiful. Now, obviously, there's no the pointer effect when I hover over them. And the font size is going to be 14 pixels. The cursor is going to be pointer, which is very important. Okay, cursor is going to be pointer. There's going to be a beautiful transition, and you guys guessed it. There's going to be a hover, obviously. Transition on the color of 200 milliseconds, and there's going to be a letter spacing as well between the letters. And these are all subtle changes, guys, which changes the UI. You know, as soon as I save it, like if you see this right now, it's looking really dull right now. It doesn't have any sort of effect with it. But as soon as I do that, you see, actually comes to life. You know. And then obviously now for the button, so you guys can notice that I'm actually doing this inside of the button, obviously because I want to hover on the button, not the header actions there, right? So I have to do this inside of my button. And it's kind of like similar to SAS, which is pretty cool as well. If you guys are used to SAS, you know. So as soon as I hover, actually changes color, and there's a smooth transition, right? So if I comment this out, it's gonna be an instant. You see, it's again not too good. As soon as I have that transition, it's a cool little effect here. And we are done with that. Yeah, I think we're done with that. And we have a span, right, which we can target. So the span is going to be inside of my header actions. For the span, I just want to say a color of 3. So there's a different color actually. And there's going to be a font size. There's a font size of 1.125 EM. So I'm using EM here. It's a different unit. Obviously, I mean, you guys could use pixels. It doesn't matter. But I just got this from the StarWars website, I guess. And I think they were using EM maybe, so I actually copied it and used EM as well. And they're pretty powerful units, EMs and RAMs for responsiveness, you know, especially RAMs, I guess. And that's it. So our header is actually complete. Oh no, actually not. We need the the social links, and I'm actually gonna hop into that right now. So let's quickly finish that so we can complete our header. Let me get my style. Let me get my style here. Let me go here. Let me get style. And what else do I need? So inside my social links, I'm going to be creating another component, and that's going to be called social link, and it's going to be a single link. And why I'm basically doing that underscore RFCE, save it, is because if you guys notice, all of these things, right? These are, so this is there was a complex situation here actually. So these SVGs, I've actually done something. You know, so these SVGs were not actually changing colors on hover. Actually, I use the CSS property, which you guys are gonna learn if you're new to that, you know. And I don't actually, I actually don't remember because I did it a long time ago, this thing. So I'm gonna learn as well right now again with you guys. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty, so I use them as a component, each of these single links, which is pretty cool, and it's pretty, you know, so it's gonna be reusable. So as always, let me do my typical links container, uh, links container, and inside of my links container, I'm gonna be having each of these social links basically, and they're gonna be React components. I'm just gonna be having 5 of them, so copying them 5 times. And I already created them, I guess. I just have to auto import them. Okay. And now I'm gonna be having inside of, so I'm gonna be sending a prop for each of these. So it's gonna be actually social link. It's not gonna be social links. It's gonna be social link. Oh, so did I actually? Oh, I'm actually doing this inside of a wrong component. Oh, what's wrong with me? So this is just social link, right? I mean, I don't actually have to do anything here. Let's just return something maybe. Let's just say so not just return. So I have to do this inside here, right? Doing this inside of social link. Yeah. Now I can just easily import my social link. And here we go. So for each of these links, I'm going to be sending an image. And this is going to be a prop. So I'll be destructuring this prop here, right? And what basically you want to do here is that obviously each of these images is going to be a different image, right? So let me just quickly get into it. And you guys might want to do the same thing. There's no point in writing all these URLs out. Just copy the social link and just, you know, kind of do like this. So all these are different images, and what these images are, these are all SVG images, so they look really pretty, you know. And yeah, obviously it's gonna freak out right now, but these are all these little SVG images you guys could see, and that's why I was actually having this kind of problem, which I'm gonna be showing you guys. So here I'm gonna be having a kids container. It's kind of a weird name which I chose, but I don't know what to name this, but I just named it kids container. And inside of the kids container, I'm gonna be having an anchor tag, and inside of my anchor tag, I'm gonna be having a span, right? And it's gonna be a weird span. It's gonna be a self-closing span, right? And again, there's a reason why I'm actually doing that. I actually looked to the StarWars website, and they were actually doing this pretty solid stuff, you know. So with the SVGs basically. Now kids container is gonna be a style component. It's not gonna be a React component. So what I can actually do is I can just go here and I can just get the links container, copy it, and say style.div div, and let's just copy this once again. And kids container is gonna be this one, and let's just save it. I think it should not freak out right now. It should be working. So they're saying links container is, yeah, so it's not freaking out now. It's working, which is nice. Now for my links container, what I basically want to do is I just want to say display. It's pretty simple. I just want to say display flex and align items. Align items center, since they're going to be in row, so flex obviously, and align items center. And I'm using gap again. So what gap is going to do is going to have some margin between all of those children inside of the links container. All of these social links basically. And you guys can see there's nothing like, obviously we have to go inside of social link and display them, which we have not done so far. And there's going to be a kids container, which we cannot see as well. And there's going to be quite a lot to do for the kids container. And so let's actually go to our links, social link first, and let's actually do that. So I can show you guys how I actually did that. So obviously I will be destructuring my props, which I was sending an image. I think, yeah, that's it. I was just sending an image here. and this is going to be a link, right? And now this link is not going to be a next link. It's going to be a styled component, const link, and it's going to be style dot div. And obviously I will be needing the style, so from style components, so I'm just going to be copying that. Okay, and now what I'm going to be doing here, so this is obviously going to be a link, but this is going to be link, and this is going to be style.a, guys. It's going to be a link, so it's going to be an anchor tag here. And what I'm going to be doing here, guys, is I'm going to, since it's an anchor tag, so you could use an href here, and what you can basically do, so I was just navigating them to simple www dot, I don't know, I was navigating them to Facebook for some reason, but I don't want to navigate to Facebook. I want to navigate to, I don't know, let's just navigate to this URL. I don't really care. You know, it's not the actual thing. If you guys want, you guys could put any link here, you know, it doesn't matter. So what you can do is just remove data back. Yeah. So what you can do now is basically, I was having image as well, and now I'm sending that image prop inside of this link prop. Now you guys might be thinking, what the hell am I actually doing here, right? And there's going to be a span here, a self-closing one, I guess. Yeah, there's going to be a self-closing span here too. Oh god, what the hell? Yeah, great. Now I'm sending the image prop inside of my, so this is a style component, remember, right? And I'm sending this here. And why am I actually doing that? So now I'm going to be showing you guys the very powerful feature of style components is going to be sending internal props inside of these components here, right? And how you basically send these internal props is by sending this image prop inside of here. I can retrieve this image prop, and I can just do template strings we used to do, and we could just do some pretty cool stuff here. Obviously I'm going to be showing, let me just copy it, so it might be easier to explain then. It's very little, it's not much, but then it's going to be easier to explain you guys what's actually going on here. If I do like this, and let's just save it. And this is the thing I'm actually talking about, you see. And this is a new property from I mean, this is a property called mask, not new, there's a property called mask. And what basically does is actually alters the visibility of an element by either partially or fully hiding it, right? And actually, so if you know about clipping the image, it actually clips the image basically, right? And what's gonna happen, you guys can see the images, right? You guys can see the images. So if I actually don't do this, watch what happen. What's gonna happen? You see, these are just random squares right now. And what's happening is it's a span which I'm actually targeting, right? It's a span. So you might be wondering, where am I actually sending the image? I'm sending an imager, and I'm checking. What I'm actually basically doing is I'm sending in props. So whenever you basically want to use props inside of your style components, you always have to do it like that. You cannot destructure here. If you try to destructure the image and you do it, it's not going to work. You have to use props. And then I'm saying that my props.image, so obviously props.image is going to select the image. And so if there is an image, right, and what I'm actually doing here is I'm masking. So what mask is you have to actually give a URL here, right, for mask, right? And you guys can just go on Google and probably search this. What masking basically does, just go on Google and search this CSS mask property. You guys are gonna know what it does. But I'm just gonna explain briefly. So I'm putting a URL here. I'm actually using the props. Obviously, I'm retrieving the image, right? And I'm actually combining the string. This is called a string interpolation, I guess. So it's actually combining, right? It's actually combining the string with the props, with a variable, and I'm using additional signs, right? So it's actually gonna look exactly like this. So when it's gonna complete, it's all obviously gonna be in string form, something like a URL. It's not a URL, but it's obviously gonna be a string. And this is how I'm actually doing. So this is really powerful stuff, guys. And it took me a while to actually figure this out as well, you know. And then I'm obviously doing no repeat 50 and 50%, which is pretty awesome, guys. Like, it's pretty awesome. So I couldn't actually do this on the So I had to actually do it like that, like render out a span, and this is going to be a self-closing span because it doesn't have anything inside it. But then you can just mask, but you cannot do background image here. You have to use mask. And the reason you have to use mask is because it's an SVG, and for the SVG you cannot basically do it like background image. You have to use something called mask, and especially when you and you need these. Obviously, this is just the hover effect, so you have to use mask here. So even like, let me just comment it out again, and let me just do it. You guys can see this beautiful SVG icons here. So I hope you guys got it. If you guys didn't get it, just go and research the CSS mask property, and yeah, just research through that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we are actually done with the. Let me just put some spacing. We're actually done with this. So it's actually complete, the social link. And now what we have to basically do is work on the kids container. It's going to be this thing here. If I go here, it's going to be this thing here, right? So I need to work on that. And let me actually go back to my social links, and let's actually work on that. So the kids container, the position is going to be relative, and there's going to be a margin left, and a margin left for 10 pixels to get some spacing. And I'm going to be using a before pseudo element here. And why I'm actually doing that is because I have something. So you see, guys, I told you that what before and after pseudo elements actually does is actually depending on the position you set for them, they actually surround the element, right? Obviously, before and after. That is what it basically means, right? So you don't have to use external divs to do that. There's a border which I want here, which I'm going to be using a before pseudo class here to do that. And let me just quickly copy it as well, because I don't want to waste, I don't want to invest too much time in it, because it's fairly simple, and I did this before as well. So it's better to explain, and I think it's long video. It's going to be a long video, and you guys can see the border straight away. So what I'm basically did is I just set the container position relative, and this is children, right? Obviously, I set it to be position absolute and define the position. I want you to be top -7, a width of 1, height of 28, a background at right, and a border top, obviously. And what the border top basically is actually, I don't. So I think why do I need the border top? I actually don't know why I actually did that, because it doesn't make any sense. Let's just keep it for now. But the main things are the position absolute and top -7 pixels, height, and all the other stuff here. You guys can see. Then what I want to do after this is I want to target my anchor tag. So inside my kids container, right, I'm having an anchor tag, as you guys can see, this one. I'm targeting that. I'm going to say width. Give me a width of 43 pixels. Give me a height of 15 pixels. 15 pixels. Display of flex. Display of flex. Justify content of center. So I'm saying center this time. I'm not saying space between, right? Align items of center as well. So both vertically and horizontally, I want you to be in center. I want a background color of 787878, and I want a border radius as well. So the border radius is gonna be not 20 pixels, it's gonna be 16. 16 pixels, and there's gonna be a smooth transition since it's gonna be a link on the background color, and there's gonna be of 350 milliseconds. And since I actually did it on the background color, so I need this to be background color as well, right? So let's just change this to background color. Yeah, that's nice. Now, obviously, inside of my anchor tag, I have a span. Now for the span, I have some few CSS properties, a width 31 pixels, and I have a height of 9 pixels, and I have a background repeat. So a background repeat of no repeat, right? Can do that, and I have a background image, and there's the background image is gonna be a URL here, which I'm gonna copy as well. There's gonna be a URL. Then that's again for the span. So I did the same thing for my social link. I'm exactly doing the same thing again here, right? And save it. Now, obviously, I'm not actually using a mask here, any sort of mask here. And the reason for that obviously is because it's not about the SVG. Obviously, I mean, I don't have to use a mask. So I had to use mask for the SVG icons, and I didn't actually used to use the mask for these things here. I used obviously. I'm actually not even entirely sure. I actually did this a long time ago, so I'm kind of confused as well. That so for the spans, actually I used a mask and I didn't use a mask here, right? It's kind of weird. I should have used the mask instead of the background image. If I don't do the background image, um, I see this, right? So which is okay. And so let me actually correct myself here. So I used the mask here, right? I didn't use any background image here. Now, obviously, this is different. This is the just combining the strings with the variable here. So this has nothing to do with that. But what's different is basically the CS. Let me actually go and search mask as well. I think I might have said something wrong about it. I did this a very long time and actually forgot this. Why we use mask basically. So yeah, obviously it hides an element by masking or clipping the image at specific points, right? So I was basically doing inside of my social links here, as you guys can see. So I had a span, I had a background color, I had a height, I had a width. I had all those things. I had background, and so let me just search this image real quick. Let me see this SVG real quick. No, so it's a clean SVG, as you guys can see, which is fine. But what I don't understand is actually I still don't understand why she used a masker. I need to clarify that for you guys as well. You guys might be confused too, why I should use the mask instead of just the background image there. Let me bring this down. So annoying. I don't quite get it, for the social links, but I was using these were icon, and this is just I think I get it. I think it might be because these are actually icons maybe, and I had to clip them, right? I had to clip it. I mean, it won't work with the background. Let's actually try this with the background. I think I might have tried this with the background image before. It might not be working. Obviously I need to I think I need to do this exact same thing as well for the background image too. Let me do that, and let me actually comment this out too, so it doesn't have anything. You see guys, so it's actually not working. That's why it's actually not working for the background image. You guys can see blank squares here, right? And there's no just like, I mean, there is an image, but you cannot see that image until you mask it, until you clip it on top of it, so that's the kind of the problem there, right? So that was the reason I had to actually use mask for the SVG icons. I mean, that's definitely the reason, right? Because I'm using background image here, and I cannot actually see my icons here, right? Yeah, so I had to clip it using the mask property here. So you can see, right? I had to clip, and yeah, that was the reason. I think that was the reason I was using a mask here. I'm not using a mask inside of my for my kids container here, right? That's the reason, I guess. And if you guys, if someone of you understands this better, please go ahead and comment below to clarify this, because any newbies out there like me, and we need to obviously, I think I got it at that point, but I just, you know, it's been a long time right now, and I got just lost the track, you know. Now I just have so for my, so on the hover, I'm actually changing the link. Interesting. So what I'm actually doing here, guys, so this is important. So on the hover, so this is before, right? So am I doing this here, or no, this is not actually before, sorry. So my bad. I'm actually doing this for the kids container, for the whole kids container, this thing. So when I'm hovering over the kids container, okay, I'm just changing the link, right? I'm just changing, and what link basically means, I'm not changing. So let me just change the link first of all. I'm just changing the background color of the link to CCC. And what this basically means is when I hover over this, right? When I hover, as soon as you guys can see, and there's a smooth transition as well for the link, right? The background color. So you guys can see I'm just changing. So I'm not changing the whole thing here, right? I'm just changing the link. So this is how you basically do it. And that's it. We are actually done with our header, guys. We are actually finally done with our header. And something does not actually look right to me. Yeah, so what does not look right to me is the positioning of it, right? I mean, it's odd right now. It's not looking great, which we need to fix, right? So we definitely need to fix that. So if I get into my header, and so since it's actually my header, I might have missed something inside of my header. Um, I think here I might have missed something, right? Yeah, exactly here, the line items. Yeah, so what's actually happening is I'm saying display of flex. So each of these things, right? There's a header left, there's a header right, and there's the center here, right? What I'm actually saying is display them as flex. And what I'm saying is justify content space between. What it means is basically space them as far away as possible, which is correct, right? Which we are getting horizontally. But we are saying that align items, and what align items basically does is it actually positions them vertically in the center, right? So they both, all of these things are in the center right now. But I actually don't want that. Why basically want is flex start. What flex start is gonna do is gonna bring them on the top, and this is gonna obviously give a similar look, as you guys can see. It's pretty similar, guys. It's exactly identical how we want it. Now I need to work on this navbar thing. It's gonna be pretty easy, I guess. And then we could create our character screens and display static generated data there. So let's work on the navbar. So let me navigate to navbar. And as usual, you know how I like to do. Is to have a container, navbar container, and there's going to be navbar links. Again, this is going to be a style comp. Sorry, not yeah, obviously style component, and each of these is going to be a navbar link, right? And as this is, I think is this is going to be a component as well. This is going to be a React component basically, the navbar link. And there's going to be a bunch of navbar links. What am I basically talking about is obviously, you know, right, these things are right. There's going to be a bunch of these links. I'm going to be just replicating them, and they're going to have a prop. And again, I mean, I don't have to actually manually do this. Let me just quickly get into my navbar, quickly get all these links. It's pretty simple, guys, and let me save it. So these are, they're receiving a prop call. Let me actually quickly create them. Navbar link.js underscore RCE, and the prop is going to be a link. No, actually it's title. Title. I'm destructuring this prop here. That's great. And that's it. I think that's it for my this. And obviously, since style component, I have to do this. Navbar container style dot div. Okay, and I also have to say navbar links, right? So navbar links, and obviously I need to import my styles. So we're gonna freak out without that. So let me quickly import my style from style components and let me save it. And there's an internal server error for some reason. It should not happen. Should just refresh this and it's gonna work. Navbar link. Obviously, we need to import React component as well, right? And that's it. It's going to work now. Here we go. We're not seeing anything. Obviously, we need to go into the navbar links and do that. But for my navbar container, I have a bunch of styles, right? Let's actually go inside of my navbar link first, and let's actually display them. So it doesn't. So we can see something basically. Now here it's going to be a React, style component called navlink, and it's going to be an h4 inside that. It's going to render out the title, and let me quickly get my style, and let me do this. Const navlink is going to be equal to style dot div. Is it going to be? I don't. It's going to be a link, right? Obviously, it's not going to be div, right? Yeah. So it's going to be a link, and this is going to have a bunch of CSS thing properties here. Display flex. It's going to have align items of center, and it's also going to have justify content of center. Now obviously inside of the link we have an h4, but I'm kind of making this look pretty right now. Border left for 1 pixel solid, 333. Height is gonna be 100%, and one text decoration, it's a link. There's gonna be an annoying text decoration which I don't want. It's basically the underline. I know the padding is gonna be 0 top bottom, 25 pixels left and right. There's gonna be a transition, and it's gonna be on the color 100 ms, and it's gonna be, this color is gonna be 999. It's also gonna have a cursor of pointer since it's a link. So it's also gonna have a cursor. I think by default it actually has that, right? I mean, since it's already a link, I don't have to do that. Yeah. And then so when you hover over this, basically you want to change the color to white, right? And then actually want to target the last of type. So what this basically means is going to target the last nav link, basically, right? The last of type basically means the last. It's not the child. Remember, it's actually targeting the same nav link, but last of those nav links, basically. And I'm gonna say a border right of 1 pixel solid and 333. And why I'm actually doing that is because when I say border left, for every link, there's not going to be obviously a border left for, because there's no child there, right? So you're not going to actually see anything. So that's the reason I'm actually doing that. And then I want to target my h4. For my h4, I just want to say font size of 14 pixels. Also say letter spacing of 1 pixels, actually, and save it. And that's it. That's I think that's pretty much it for this thing, for my navbar link, right? And these are all the styles I need for this. And now I should be able to see my navbar links. I save this I guess. Am I actually seeing anything? Oh, great. So it's not actually importing correctly, right? Oh, it's actually importing correctly. Okay. I'm not actually seeing anything, any of my navbar links, which is weird right now. Oh, so I'm actually not seeing anything here. Oh, I think that's maybe, is my navbar actually running out? I'm actually running out here, right? Navbar. I have the navbar after my header, basically. So that's correct. Is it because I don't have any styling here? Is that the reason? I don't. So I might be not seeing that because there's no style. Let's actually style this first, and let's see if that's the reason. So there's a bunch of styles for this, and I'm just gonna go navigate to my navbar. Actually, I think I was in the navbar. Let me get these styles, and these are pretty simple styles. Not very. Here we go. That was the reason. So I think I didn't have the width, maybe the height, maybe had the height. I think it might be because of the background color and stuff. Yeah. So what am I basically doing inside my navbar container is, you see all of these are block level links right now. Obviously I need to display them as flex, which I'm going to be doing inside of this container. I'm going to be saying display them as flex, align items of center, also give it a height 100% and save it. As soon as I basically do that, boom, guys, you see these three lines of code actually transform them to this, to that, and you can see that, right? And that's beautiful. And there's hover effects, but there's no cursor pointer, which is weird. So it's actually the link, but there's no so if I go back to my navbar link, that's actually weird because there must be, since it's actually, so I think it's because the text is actually h4. I mean, text is inside of the link, and I think that's the reason it's not having a pointer effect, right? I think I have to basically do that. Yeah, so that looks good. And so what I did here basically inside of my navbar container is I had a border top, which is this. You guys can see if I comment this out, you might not see that, obviously. You will not see that. There's a background color, there's width, there's a box shadow. It's a very subtle thing. You might not even notice that. I mean, if I zoom that in, very subtle effect. I mean, it's not even noticeable, you know. But there's a box shadow, definitely. I'm displaying everything as flex. Not everything, actually. There's just one navbar links div inside of this, which I'm displaying flex line items, and I'm giving a specific height and seeing position of flex, and that's really important. So you see, guys, as soon as I scroll down, it's not actually moving anywhere, right? Both my header and navbar is actually sticking there, right? Which is very nice. It's the effect that you want, right? And because I have a very small screen here, so I might be seeing a huge kind of thing. If I minimize this up a little bit, it might be better for you guys. So now it's looking really nice. I mean, it's looking really nice. It's the exact look which you want. If I navigate to my build, you see there's no difference. You won't even notice anything here. It's exactly the same, right? And that's pretty damn cool. And I'm just giving a Z index to keep it on top of everything, obviously, because that's the main thing. And I'm also defining, because I'm saying position fix, I always have to do that, right? I mean, if I don't do, you see what happens. So I actually calculated this 135 pixels. This works perfectly here, as you guys can see. And with that said, we are actually done with the navbar. And now we could work on the footer, or let's actually work on the character scheme. So we can basically create, when we click here, we can go into the character screen. That will be better right now. So let's actually work on that. And there's gonna be, I named it character card actually. And you can name it character screen if you want. It's not a huge difference. I named it character card underscore, and here's where we are going to be doing some pretty nice Next.js logic, get static props and get static paths as well, which I'm going to be explaining you guys obviously. And so how I'm actually I'm going to be doing this is, if I go back to my pages and if I go to index.js, I can just I can go back to my index. Let me actually go to my index.js inside of my pages. And here I'm actually doing I'm actually rendering out characters, right? There's a characters container, there's characters and everything. And what I'm actually doing is basically, so inside of my character, right, when I'm clicking on any of the characters, I'm actually going into this route, right? This basically this route. So if I click here, obviously this is not found, but you see there is header and nav bar here, right? Because I'm rendering this on for every page, but this is not found, as you guys can see. But it is going to be dynamic. So you see, as soon as I click here, it's actually changing it to 2, right? Because the ID is changing, right? So it's actually dynamic, which is pretty nice. Now, all we got to work on is obviously rendering out that character screen thing, right? So I'm actually figuring out where actually I rendered my character card. Right? I want to actually figure out that stuff first, right? So if I go back to my so this is my characters. So that if I go to my character inside of my components, and if I check, so this is complete, right? This is just changing these routes through the link, and that's it. I think where I'm actually navigating is through my page. So I'm actually creating an ID. Okay, great. So now guys, let me show you guys at the starting of this video, I actually showed you guys something called an ID folder basically inside of my pages, which I'm going to be creating right now. There's going to be a folder called ID, and inside of that folder, I'm going to be putting my square brackets here. Inside of the square brackets, I'm going to be, and this is dynamic routing, right? So what I'm actually doing here is basically, so if you go back to my character, what I'm actually doing is I'm taking the user to /ID, and what this /ID is this thing, the folder here, right? So folder name needs to match exactly. So if I change the folder name here, I need to change this route here. So let's say you don't want ID, you want character here maybe, right? /character. So you have to change this ID to character, right? But that's not going to work, and there's a reason why it's not going to work, because we are using an API, right? And if you go back to the API, the route is actually mentioned as /ID here, right? It's not /character. So you have to use the exact naming here, and that's super important, right? Because I actually messed up with these things before, and the routes were not working. So you need to name it exactly as how I'm actually naming it here. So as you guys can see, I named it a /ID. So this is going to take me to this ID folder, and then / whatever the character ID is here, right? .json is going to actually take you to that /characters page. And everything I'm going to be doing inside of this is going to be dynamic. Everything, right? Everything inside of this page is going to be dynamic, basically. And I'm going to name this character, because this is going to represent one single character. And obviously, there's going to be a character container here, and I'm going to be having star field, which I use inside of my index.js, I guess. Star field left, I'm going to be having a star field right as well. So I could have actually created them as separate React components, since I'm reusing them, but I actually didn't do that. I didn't want it to overcomplicate a lot of components. But if you guys want to do that, you can easily do that, create this as a React component. I just kept it simple for this one. So there's going to be a character card, Okay, and this is the component which I created, right? The character card, right? I have to actually import that from my components, and here I'm going to be sending out the character. And obviously I'm going to be explaining you guys where this character is going to come, and this is going to come from that props, that getStaticProps, which I showed you guys before. But I have to prepare for that, right? Now I'm going to show you guys those two functions. So the getStaticProps and the getStaticPaths, and both of these functions are going to be executed on server. Okay, I'm just commenting out here. They're going to be executed on server, right? When the user actually goes to the website, it's going to build everything, right? It's gonna build everything on server beforehand, so the user doesn't, so there's no delay, and the user does not have to see any of the loading states. And I'm obviously, so for this part here, what I'm actually gonna be doing is I'm actually gonna be going to my GitHub back, and it's the exact same thing which I actually showed you guys in index.js, where I used the getStaticProps to get the dynamic information basically. I'm going to be using that same exact prop, but this time it's going to be inside of my ID. So I go to my pages, the ID, and it's going to be id.js. So it's going to be this one here. This is a function I'm actually talking about, right? And don't worry, I'm going to explain you guys what this is doing. So this has something called context, right? Which I didn't actually use it inside of my index, but here I'm actually using that context. And what that context basically means is when I'm actually fetching, from this API, right? This is the base URL, right? And when you want to go into fetch one single character, you want to give the ID, right? So you could use something called context. And context, so if you go into Next.js, you can basically search for context, here. You can pretty much go here and you'll know what context is. Get initial props basically has this kind of receives an argument called context and has all these things basically. So what you can basically do is you can access the params, and then you can access the ID of using that param basically, right? And that's pretty powerful, guys. That's like really powerful aspect of Next.js which you can do here. And then again, is a similar effect. You can receive a response and return the response as a JSON object here. Sorry, I mean as a JSON in the JSON format here, right? And then it's going to be a single character this time. So remember when we did this in index.js, we actually retrieved all of our characters using the base URL. But here we are doing this differently. We're receiving a single character here, right? And we're sending this character, returning it as prop, so we could retrieve it out here. And that is what my character was basically. And if you get used to it, it's very simple actually, right? It's actually very simple if you get used to this. And then I'm using actually another very powerful function. So whenever actually you do this, you use something called getStaticPaths, and you always have to actually do this. If you don't do this, and this is the preparation stage. So this actually prepares, this actually gets that character for you, this character. And when I was talking about this context or parameter ID, this is the thing which is going to retrieve from here basically. So getStaticPaths, right? It also has a context, but we're not going to be using that. So here you have the characters. It's going to fetch all the characters from the base URL and return them as in the JSON format. Then we have something called paths here, right? And what paths basically does is actually maps through all the characters, right? Receives a single character, and it only returns this thing here. You guys can see it returns the /ID. I mean, obviously this route basically /ID / whatever the character ID.json. And then we can send these paths basically, and this is what the context of params.id is basically, guys. This is what is actually retrieving, right? This ID here. And this is how you combine these two powerful functions to basically, statically generate data. And once you do it, obviously, since it's going to be statically generated, it's going to be fetching on build time, and is always going to be super blazing fast basically. And if you guys still, and what fallback is basically pretty simple. It's just something which you have to do whenever you use this. So if you have huge amounts of data on your website, you could just render a part of the website and then just make the fallback to true, because it's gonna take a lot of time, you know. So it's very simple. Don't worry about fallback. Just focus on paths, and paths are really important. So whenever you have something, like obviously you have, let's say you have so many posts and you want to render out only single posts, right? If you have a blog website, for example. So what you can do is blogs.map receive a single post.map receive a single post, yeah, and retrieve the ID portion of that. It actually works similar, right, for everything. I retrieve the ID and then access the ID using the context.params.id, and then fetch a single post here and then send this post back on through here and then use that post. This is how, I mean, simple it is using Next.js. And obviously for a post, it might be different because it might be changing. If it's statically generated, this is the best way. But if it's changing, you have to use something called get server side, which is a different function Next.js provides you. Now, since I'm receiving this character, and by the way, you can console log and check this out if this is correct and if it's receiving. I'm not gonna do that because I know that it's correct and there's no error. So if there is any error, you could just console log and check it out. And obviously it's gonna freak out right now. And the reason for that would be I don't have any of these style components. So I'm just gonna first of all copy my style. Go here and just const just do style this thing styled dot dev, and let's just do this characters container. We have a star field, right? And we also have a star field right here, right? Again, you guys could obviously create this as React components, but I would suggest focus on this aspect right now. The understand, because this is the I basically the reason why I did this tutorial was to explain you guys this aspect of Next.js. This is the most important. If you guys get this, what I'm actually doing here, and that's it, you guys could actually build anything with Next.js. You know, this is the most important part of this build here. So focus on this, guys. Focus all your energy on this part here. So it's not erroring out. That's good. That's good to see. But I don't see my navbar, which is actually weird. It's I see the navbar right now. Okay, that's great. But this is not erroring out since I'm actually not on this route. So I click here. Yeah, it's gonna obviously error out right now. Now let's fix this actually. Let's actually fix this and in a way so it doesn't error out again. So if you have these two functions, everything's sorted here. And what we basically want to do is I want to focus on my character container. Obviously, that's the most important thing right now. So character container is gonna just have a padding of 40 pixels. And this is the character screen which I'm talking. So if you guys don't know what I'm doing right now, is actually I'm talking about this screen. I'm building this thing here, character screen. And it's gonna have a padding and it's gonna have a margin top of 200 pixels. I'm just gonna save that. Obviously, I don't see anything right now here. So they're saying I'm expected a string for built-in components. Our class functions components but got object. You likely forgot to export your component size. I don't know what's the error here, but always does it for some reason. So let me just complete this first and then I'll fix that. For the Starfield lab, I'm just gonna go back to my, I think index.js, right? Yeah, I'm gonna get my Starfield. So I actually have this. I'm just gonna get it exactly as it is, you know. And I'm just gonna go back to my this thing here. I'm just gonna paste it there. And yeah, I think that's it. So I have Starfield left. I have everything here. For my character card, I think that might. Oh, so I didn't actually save that. I think that was an issue. Yeah, so that was, you see, I'm actually seeing the page, so there's no error, which means it's working, right? Why I actually cannot see the anything here is because I don't have the character card ready yet. So I just need to work on that, and that's it, guys. it's exactly gonna work then. So I have this, everything's done here, everything's pretty much done. I think, yeah. So we're sending a character and let's just destructure this into our character card. So we're receiving a character, right? True props. And you guys, I didn't actually use recoil or redux in this build. You guys probably might want to use that as well if you guys don't want to send too many props, you know. Um, so obviously you could try to, but it's already a huge build and I didn't want to make it more and more huge, you know. It's already a very long build right now. So now what I can basically, so I'm actually using a head here from Next.js, and I'm gonna show you guys a pretty cool thing. Obviously here as well, dynamically generating names for of every character. It's gonna be really nice. So it's gonna be head. Sorry, not link. It's gonna be head. For the head, I'm just gonna be using a title. For the title, this is gonna be character. I'm gonna be using optional chaining here since it's actually fetching the data for me, so it might not be defined, right? So yeah, always try to protect yourself. Wars.com. Oh, this guys, this is really powerful. So this is gonna change the URL on the top. So you see, guys, it actually changed right now for me. So if I go back right now, if I click this guy actually changed again. You see, so that's pretty powerful. You know, this is what you can do with Next.js. You can change in URLs, and it's really good for SEO. You know. Now I have the head, and I'm just gonna first of all, um, so this is just a fragment. So we need to have a fragment, a container kind of thing here. I'm gonna be having a card container. Inside my card container, I'm gonna be having an image. Obviously now everything is gonna be dynamically generated here. So image is gonna be having character, optional chaining again. I'm gonna be having an image, saving that, and understanding that card container is not defined. That makes sense. So I don't have any style there. That's the reason. And I just need to copy this const style dot div, right? And save this. There we go. Huge image right now. We don't obviously need that huge image. I'm going to be having another style component here, and this is going to be character info. All the character info is basically going to go here. I'm going to be having h1 here. H1, you guys guessed it, it's going to contain the name, character.name, and then there's going to be an h4. The h4 is going to be having, so these are all the properties. So I have console log the character right now. You guys will see all of the properties where I'm basically getting them from. I don't know why I cannot actually see the console log, because I should be able to see it here as well, but that's fine. Let's just, oh, is it because I'm getting an error? Is it that's why? That might be a reason as well. I'm not actually able to see anything. I have my terminal here. Okay, never mind. So I'll show you guys all the things. So I'm going to be getting character dots, something called affiliations, and I'll show you guys what that means. Dot length is greater than 0, and then only I want to basically render my text called affiliations, right? And let me show you guys. So you guys see each of these characters has these properties, affiliations, apprentices. So you guys could render all of these things out. But there were some, so this API was not actually perfect. I mean, there were some errors in this API, like errors in masters and some of these properties. So I tried to use only those which does not give any bugs, sort of things. So you might want to stay with me, or if you guys want to obviously render out more stuff, you guys could probably do that, like species and other stuff. But I think I'm going to be doing that actually. So I only want to render out the text affiliations if the affiliations are present. So there might be no affiliations, right? I mean, someone might have no affiliations. So I don't want to render out any text if there's no affiliations, right? So obviously we cannot see because the styling is messed up right now. And outside of this h4, I'm going to be opening a JavaScript tag here. I'm going to be saying character, okay, and I'm going to be saying character dot affiliations, and it's going to be dot map, and I think I'm going to be getting a single affiliation. I'm going to be using option chaining here as well. Affiliation, a single affiliation basically, and what I'm going to be basically, so I'm going to be getting an index as well, and since I'm getting two things here, I have to do this, and then I could do something like a render of the p tag, and inside of my p tag I could render out the affiliation, right? It makes sense, right? And here I need to have a key. So remember, always when you're rendering some multiple information, it's always good to have a key. I'm gonna make the key is equal to the index. As soon as I save that, here's the affiliation. Now that's pretty nice. And another h4 here. And let me just actually copy this stuff. So this stuff is pretty simple actually, and I don't want to invest too much time again in here. So let me go to my character card. It's already being very long right now, and it's really simple honestly. So I'm just gonna get some of these stuff. So this is what I wanna explain you guys. But this is actually pretty simple. So let me get this real quick, and this is it. So what this is, what I'm actually doing here is basically getting the apprentice. So obviously it's the same thing right here. So if there is no apprentices, don't obviously uh, render this. And then I'm just obviously getting, so it's exactly the same as affiliation. And then this thing here is a bit interesting. So what I'm actually doing here is so there are three locations for every character. There's like a born location, that location, and a home world, right? So I only want to print locations if there are these locations present, right? If I mean, obviously, if these locations are present, then only I want to print locations. Otherwise, I don't want to print any locations, right? And that's very important. You have to do that. And then after this, what I'm basically doing here is I'm using an external function. This is the filter, and this update location here is an external function which I'm using. And don't worry, I'm going to explain you guys what's happening here. And it's going to map, give me a location, and then it's going to render out a p tag. Okay, and inside of the p tag, what's going to happen is going to say, it's going to check if that location is not equal to null, right? I mean, it's not equal to empty, and then only it's going to print the location. So I checked the API, and there were some instances where the location was like there was no location. So the location was basically empty. I mean, there was like, I mean, there was a location, but it was kind of empty here, right? So I had to actually check this through first of all. And what I'm actually using, so this update location is an external function, right? And this is the function. And what this basically does is actually gets me a single location, a unique location, right? So I don't have to repeat a location. What I mean by that basically, is, let's say someone was actually born on the same home world and died on the same I mean, obviously the location he was born on was the same for both the home world and died location. Or let's say the born location, and all the three are same, let's just say, right? So that might be an issue. I don't want to render same location again and again because these are different properties, right? So what I basically did here is I updated the location. What this function basically does is, it's actually this function here. I was saying it's declared, but it's never read. It's locations. Okay, my bad. So what this function basically does is it goes in there, takes in a value index in a self, and actually it's a very powerful function. I searched this, I got this from Stack Overflow, and what this is basically returns the self.index of value if the value is equal to the index. So it's searching through the index, right? And what that index is, obviously, since I'm using filter here, and it's getting everything. So filter actually accepts three values here: value, a predicate, and a self. As only returning if that value is equal to the index. I hope you guys got this. What I mean by this is basically it's going to remove any duplication. So if anything is not equal to the index, it's actually not going to return that. So it's actually going to remove any of the duplications which come here. So that's what this function is basically doing here. Then I'm going to have an h4. It's going to be for the gender. And pan is going to be saying character dot gender gender, and then there's going to be a h4 for dimensions. And for dimensions, let me just I don't know why I'm actually writing these things out. These things are fairly simple. Let me just quickly get them all, and let me just paste it around. That's it. So dimensions, and then obviously there's height, characters of dimensions. I'm just putting meter here. Species is just again very simple. Wiki. So what wiki is basically is just this thing here. So I go back here, and there's actually a wiki. There's actually an external link for every character if you want to read more about them. So that's why I didn't actually include any descriptions. So there's a link if you want to read more about them. You can just navigate to that link here, and I'm just using some properties here. And here I'm saying read more about the character name, whatever it is. And that's it, guys. Like literally, that's it. What we had to actually do. And saying locations is actually not defined. So there's the locations, which is not actually defined. Oh yeah, I actually forgot to do that. My bad. So what is locations basically? Well, what are locations? So locations are these things, right? So there are three locations, as I told you guys before: the born location, the died location, and I'm storing all these three locations inside of an array, right? So then it's basically easier to filter out them. And then if you go back here, obviously we just need to style this right now. Let me close this so you guys will be able to see it properly. So let's actually first style this, so we can see that. For my card container, I just want to display of flex. And what my card container is basically is this thing. So is this containing the image and all the character info basically. It's the containing basically all the info inside of my card container, right? Justify content. Justify content is basically gonna be centered this time, and there's gonna be a border radius of 6 pixels. And now we have an image which I'm going to target, and it's pretty simple here for the image. So we're just providing some border radiuses on top, left and right, a width of 50 view widths and not in pixels. And the reason why I'm actually doing it in view widths, and as soon as I do that, boom, guys, you see the information there. Right? And you're gonna see the same information for any of the characters. You go and click here, and this is for Darth Vader basically. Right. So what was basically happening is basically the viewer, right? So if I make the screen smaller, you see it's responsive. I mean, it's responsive up to a certain extent. So if I focus on responsive, it's going to take more and more time, and I wanted the responsiveness to be a challenge for you guys, so you guys could try and extend this and make it mobile responsive as well. That's pretty easy. It's like up to a certain extent, actually responsive. So that's what 50 width is for. Then there's like an object fit of contain, maintains the aspect ratio, a border right, which is this thing, the pinkish thing here, and then there's a background color obviously for the image. And now, and yeah, that's it for the correct card container. Now we can target our character info, and it's actually pretty simple. But I'm actually gonna get this as well. So it's actually pretty simple, guys. As it's really late right now, and I mean, I think it's huge, you know. So I'm just going quickly through these things right now. Again, there's a border top right, border bottom right, which is this and this here on the bottom right. And what else is there is basically the width. Again, the width I'm saying in 30 viewers. Again, is going to be responsive viewers, right? I mean, if you guys want to say in pixels, you go, but I just wanted it to be responsive, you know. Right now, there's a weird issue I think with the Z index is messing up right now, and I need to figure that out as well. But yeah, that's pretty much. And there's a background image, so you see these stripes here. That's the background image. Then all these are positioning values for the character info. Now, obviously, inside of our character info, we have an H1. The H1 is gonna have a width, and this is the H1 basically, the width of 100%, and it's gonna have a margin of bottom, auto left and right, a color of BDD, font size 30 pixels, and it's gonna have a font weight of 500, I guess, and it's also gonna have a text transform of uppercase and a margin button of 20 pixels. Pretty easy and straightforward. As soon as I save that, boom, guys. So there's a margin, and it's looking nice right now. Now I'm gonna target my H4. For my H4, I'm just gonna say color of DDD, and there's a font weight. Font weight is gonna be 500. It's pretty similar, and there's gonna be a margin button. So I'm just gonna say margin bottom. It's gonna be 10 pixels, and then there's gonna be margin top as well. For the margin top, I'm gonna say 20 pixels right now, and save that. And here we go, guys. So these are all the H4s right now. And then I'm gonna target my P tag, and I'm also gonna target my anchor link. Both of these things. So what are my P and anchor links? Is this is the anchor link in the last, right? The wiki link. And then there's a P tag, pretty simple. And let me just get it. Again, it's pretty straightforward, so you guys don't have to like really worry about it. And it's actually erroring out right now. So let me actually get it. I think it's I don't know why it's actually so. Oh, this is because of that. Okay, great. I just have to get this. Yeah, and save this. As soon as I do that, here we go, guys. You see beautiful, beautiful looking links right now, and a subtle hover effect, a very, very subtle hover effect, and RGB value of here was actually changing. I think it's just changing the opacity, or actually not opacity, actually changing the color. Looking really nice right now. And then we have a span, and that span is going to be inside of this. So it's going to be targeting this thing, and it's going to be inside of our character info. It's going to be color of AAA, and it's going to be text transform of capitalized. So it's not going to be uppercase, it's going to be capitalized. And I think that's it, guys. That's pretty much it for this thing here. And did I actually? Oh, so I actually messed this up. My bad. And like, why is it not actually changing? So it should be here. Here we go, guys. You see, it's capitalized. And if I go back to my this thing, it's actually looking exactly identical. I mean, let me open Darth Vader here. Here we go. So delay, which I was actually talking about, guys, is if I go back, select this, right? So there's actually a, I mean, you guys won't notice much of a delay, but there is a little bit. I mean, and if you look at this thing, it's actually instant, right? So this is actually on build time, right? Like actually, there's everything already present there. This is called statically generated data, right? So let me go back to Darth Vader here. but it's pretty similar, guys. I mean, you see, the information is there, everything's kind of written down, the locations, appendices, affiliations. And if you want to read more about it, you can just click here. And it's pretty much, yeah, so we're pretty much done. All that's remaining, I would say, is the footer. And another thing which is actually remaining is the loading animation. So when I actually reload this, which is pretty simple actually, this is actually pretty simple. You don't have to worry. So I'm actually using a better-react-spinkit for this. It actually does it quite easily, you know. So that's one thing. And yeah, let's actually. So I think we're pretty much done with this character card. Um, and let me just quickly check if I actually missed any. I don't think I actually missed anything here. Everything's kind of in place right now. I don't quite miss anything right now. And it's really looking neat and it's really looking solid right now. So let's actually work on the footer. Yeah, let's actually work on the footer right now. So it looks, and let me quickly check one more thing, guys. So when I'm actually running the character cursor, if I go to my ID, so they actually complete this ID section. Let me actually quickly check this out. So I don't mess this up, you know. So let me quickly check my ID, not JS, as exactly what I basically wanted it to look. I think this is pretty much so I think my character car is a bit different. I think I'm not getting the exact feel out of it. It might be because of the but I don't think I think it might be because of my ID. So if I navigate back to my ID here, and if I look at some of this stuff here, so there's a star feed left and right, right? I look here, and if I go back to my ID here, and if I go down, so I'm not actually using any star feed. I'm using this. It's nice. I'm using character container, margin top. So let me look at the finishing touch. Let's go, guys. So it was actually annoying, you know. So right now it's actually, and it's you see, so this is happening because of the object fit contain, right? So it's actually not stretching the image, um, but it's really responsive to up to a certain extent. So that was a kind which was bothering me, you know. So my image was not actually. So now you see it's exactly identical. So I was not actually using star feed, I was just using these two styles. So you guys might want to do the same. And this is just, I just have to have this. That's it. And yeah, so that was the thing. Shaky figured this out. Let me select Luke right now. There we go. So yeah, let's actually move on. Really, we need to deploy this as well. So let's actually move on to the footer. That's the last of the components for us. And as usual, we always gonna start with footer container. And for the container, and inside of the container, I'm just gonna have a p tag. P tag is just gonna say follow StarWars. I'm just gonna save that. And as usual, it's gonna import my style. You know, quickly import that. And you remember, guys, I used so I created something called social links component, which I'm gonna be using here. So let me just quickly import that as well. Social links, social links, right? Now here I'm going to be using this component social links, right? And here I'm going to be using a style component, copyright, and it's very simple stuff. Again, let me quickly go to components. And it's just the copyright text which I want to copy, which is this basically here. And what else do we have here? So we have a copyright, then we have a footer links container. Again, this is a style component. Is going to contain all of the footer links, which is all these links. I went ahead and saved you guys some time here, so obviously you guys can do the same thing. These are a bunch of links, but these are anchor tags, right? So since I'm not actually navigating anywhere, just the home page, so I'm just using the normal anchor tags here. Obviously now footer, all these style components are not fine, so I just might want to quickly do that. Footer container style dot div and replicate that, and let's just get a copyright here, and let's actually have a footer links container too. So let's quickly do that. So that's done. There's a footer container, there's a footer links container, and here we go, guys. So here we can see the footer, right? But it's actually looking horrible. Let me move this on top. It's looking horrible right now, right? We need to style it to look the way we want it to look. Now let me target the footer container first of all. For the footer container, again, very simple styling. Like, I mean, it's pretty simple. Let me just quickly copy it. I know I'm copying a lot of stuff right now, and it's because it's already being a very huge build right now, and I didn't quite actually think it's gonna go this long. So I'm kind of moving faster and can explain you guys real quickly, you know. So it's very simple actually. It's just having a margin top obviously from here. So what these two lines are actually very nice. I actually learned them. So what it actually does is actually it's actually equivalent to saying display flex, flexation of column, and basically aligning items in center. uh, uh, and actually not even flexation, it's just like yeah, actually you have to say flexation, so it's actually equivalent to that, but you just have to use place item center. So what place item center does is actually places all these things into the center while obviously giving the flexation of column since it's grid, right? And the background color, and there's a background image. So you see this background image, right? So that's this background image you guys can see. I know, I think it's Darth Vader, I guess. Yeah, it's actually Darth Vader in the background there. And then there's this position, and there's this position absolute here, and that's it. And you have to do position absolute. So if you don't do that, actually messes up like this. So you have to actually do position absolute to cover this all up. And then I have a copyright. So actually not copyright. So I have to actually target the p tag. And now I'm using something called nth of type and targeting my first p tag. So what this basically means is inside of my footer container. And in my footer container, I have a p tag, right? And this p tag, right? So this is the p tag which I'm targeting. So why am I actually saying that, you know, nth of type 1 here is obviously because I think I think it's my copyright. It's also a p tag. So if I don't say that, it's actually gonna target this too. So I just want to target this p tag here and not this one. So I'm just saying nth of type, but select the first one, right? And I'm gonna be having a margin, and the margin here is in a bit weird way. What this means is top, so top, bottom, and left and right. So this left and right is this top, bottom. So top, bottom, left and right, something like that. It's just something like that. You can just do something like this. Maybe try it out. So you see, it's actually messing top. So it's top and bottom. If I say 20 pixels here, if I say 0, so this is left and right. So this is top, this is left and right. I think this is for bottom maybe. Yeah. So this is actually bottom. Yeah. So top, left and right, and bottom. Top, left and right, and bottom. It's like that. So, and this is, so I got it from StarWars website. So I don't usually do it this way. And then there's a color of CCC, a font size of basically 0.875 rems, and there's going to be a line height, and the line height is going to be normal. Again, rams, I got them from their website, and that's it for that. And the copyright is going to be p tag as well. And for the copyright, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to be having a margin top, so of 32 pixels. I'm going to be saying margin bottom. For the margin bottom, I'm going to say 12 pixels, and a font size. And the font size is actually going to be 0.875 rems. So font size is going to be 0.875 rems. And let me check. So I have a color. Obviously, the color is going to be CCC, and that's it. As soon as I save that, this is the copyright. It's looking neat and clean. And this is the obviously the component, so we don't have to do anything to this. And now you guys understand the importance of creating components, right? I mean, if I didn't actually create this as a component, it might be a headache to do this again, right? So since it was a bit complex, right? And then I can target my for links container, which is a div, has a bunch of styles. So it's saying display flex, justify content of center. It's all those links, right? All these links right now. I'm gonna make it look pretty. Align items of center, and I want to say flex wrap. So right now they're not wrapping. You guys can see, right? So I want to turn on my wrap. They actually wrap, as you can see, they're wrapping right now. I also want to say padding, 0 top bottom and 40 pixels left and right. Then I want to target my anchor tags. For my anchor tags, again, some pretty similar stuff, which I've already done before. So just gonna copy it, go back, there we go. It's just changing the color, the font size, line height, providing text section none because these are links, right? So text section of none. And this is again, obviously top, right, bottom and left, like that. And this is again, as I told you guys before. And then obviously now inside of my anchor tag, as soon as I hover over them, I want to target my after pseudo class, basically. After pseudo class. And what I basically want to do is I want to target my bottom color. Okay. And I think I actually did this before. I could have created this as a component too. So when I showed you guys the show more button, if you guys remember, if I go back to the home page and see the footer is there as well, right? Because it's gonna render on every page. So this button is exactly gonna be same, like these links are gonna be exactly same like that. So there's a hover, and then there's gonna be a width of 100%, right? And then this is gonna be inside of the hover. Then I'm gonna target my after pseudo class, and exactly the same is exactly the same as you did the show more button, basically. Okay, it's exactly the same, and there's some animations, right? So for the animations, there's these animations here, and yeah, that's it. So now you guys can see, right? So it's going from 40% to 100% with these animations, right? So you guys can see that. That's actually looking really nice right now. So if I compare this with my, so I cannot actually remove this, but compare this with my this here, you guys can see, right? I mean, you guys can probably see this. It's looking really nice right now. I think it might be because I have to do this, and I think to do this here as well. Yeah, so you guys can probably see exactly similar. There's no border, right? Have to do that, obviously. Everything else is actually looking really neat, right? So that's pretty much done. Now, what I want to do the last thing basically here, I want to target and so if I go here, so outside of this, I want to target the A, right? Anchor tag, but I don't want to target. I don't want to target the last shine. Now this might be a bit complicated for you guys, the way I've actually done CSS here, but it's actually very useful. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm providing that border, right, which I showed you guys, right? That finishing touch which we need here. 1 pixel solid, and we need this CC cut. What this is gonna do, right? It's gonna target each of these lengths, but it's gonna omit and not target the last shell, which is this here. You guys can see. So it's actually not gonna target this last link here, right? But it's gonna target each and every of these links. And if I don't actually, obviously, I mean, I cannot show you guys, but if I do this like on the normal links here, you guys might understand what I'm trying to say. As you can see there, it actually targeted the last shell as well. If I don't want to target that, I could just say not. I can use not, and then I could say last shell. And that's it. We are actually done with our footer, and our footer is pretty much wrapped up right now. And I'm like, it's pretty, like, we did it really quickly, this thing, and it's going to be rendered on every page. So even if I click here, let's say, it's going to be there, right? And let's say if I go back, if I want to click on someone else, show more, I want to click on this guy here, and here's it, the footer, the navigation, everything. Again, because of my screen is actually small, so you guys are actually, maybe this is too much zoomed in for you guys, but it's gonna look good on your guys screen. So here's the Yoda. Let's click Yoda. Let's go. So it's actually looking really nice. The link animations, and it's pretty much similar. Uh, no. And the font size might be different for me. So let me actually quickly check if I was actually targeting the font sizes. Maybe I was not actually quite targeting those font sizes. So it was 0.875 rems for my anchor tags, which is correct. I think it's correct. I mean, I think it's so don't do that. It's actually correct. I think that's fine. That's how it is. That's how I basically did this. So that's fine. And everything else kind of looks nice right now. And yeah, we're actually done with the footer. So we're actually complete. We're actually done with the build, guys. Now, I mean, the build is complete, but the finishing touch which we are waiting for is this loading animation. I'm gonna refresh the page, okay, and boom, that's the kind of thing we would need, right? That's the kind of thing we would need when someone actually loads in the page and sees this beautiful animation. And it's pretty easy to do, guys. It's pretty easy to do. So for that animation, I'm gonna be using something called I think I have to search. So it's called something like better-react-spinkit. And it's pretty simple to actually implement it. So is this GitHub repo here. So if you open this, you get a bunch of all these components you could use, and it's pretty simple. I'm going to be showing you guys how to do it. But first, we obviously need to download. So you can just do npm i. I'm going to be using yarn. So open my terminal. On the other hand, just do yarn add better-react-spinkit. It's going to download first. And where I'm going to be actually implementing this is inside of my app.js, right? Now, this is the part you guys have to focus on. So I'm going to be using something called a use timeout basically here. It's going to be interesting. Maybe using set timeout. Sorry, I'm not use. It's going to be set timeout, obviously. If you guys have used that before, I use it inside a use effect basically. And I've done it quite a bunch of times. So it's pretty easy. And I'm going to be showing you. So I'm going to be having a piece of state. Use state. Let me just use state. And we call loading, right? And let's just say loading here. By default, it's going to be actually true, right? And then we're going to be having the use effect. And we obviously need to import this. So let's quickly import, actually import it, and we also need to import the use state. Actually, both of them are imported. Now inside my use, if what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create timeout ID, right? Okay, and so basically React gives you something called a set timeout function, right? What basically does, right? So it receives a callback, right? It receives a callback, and you allot it a time, basically. Let's say 1,000 milliseconds or 2,000 milliseconds is going to be 2 seconds, and it's going to do whatever you want to do in that period of time, right? That's actually pretty cool, guys. What I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be set loading to false, okay, and I'm going to be allocating the time 500 there. And what this 500 is the milliseconds. So it's going to be meaning it's going to mean it's going to be 0.5 seconds, right? And then what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be returning. So you always have to return whenever you use this set timeout here, and you have to sort of clean up here. So this is called cleanup. You have to do that, and you have to say clear timeout, okay? And you have to send in the time. That was the reason I actually created the timeout ID. If you don't do this, it's gonna mess up. So you always have to actually do that and save, right? Now, obviously, where is the loading? You need the loading, right? And this is the most important thing, right? So what I'm gonna be doing is opening my curly braces for some JavaScript logic here. And since I have a loading as a piece of state, so I can say if my loading is there, and this is I'm gonna use a ternary here. I'm gonna say if my loading is true, okay, I want to render something called, so let me actually, so I know I'm copying a lot of stuff, but it's really easy, guys, and it's not gonna take a lot of time, trust me on that. So it's just this uploading thing here. I'm just gonna be doing this uploading. If this is not the case, obviously I don't wanna use, I'm just gonna have some React fragments here, otherwise it's just gonna mess up. Copy this stuff here, paste it inside of second ternary here. So if my loading is gonna be true, okay, it's gonna render all these, and all these things are obviously style components, right? So uploading contents and uploading is actually style components. I will just copy paste them here, and boom, we actually complete with the loading, guys. Now let me actually, now obviously we don't have any style there. We need the style, right? So we need the style. We need to save that, and what we need, I think, internal server error. So circle is not defined. Now obviously what the hell is circle? So this circle is the animation, the spinning loader, which I was showing you guys before. So you have a bunch of these things, and you guys could just check out their website to see what all sort of these things are. So circle is kind of a spinner kind of thing. Then there's all these things. So what you basically do is you need to import them. So I'm gonna import it, right? Circle, it's gonna be circle from and better-react-spinkit, right? So save that, and I think that should be working. There we go, guys. Beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this to true, so you guys can see how sort of it looks like. So this is how it actually looks like right now. And what I'm actually doing inside of this, so this is just normal CSS I'm doing. So just targeting this is the logo, right? And just targeting the logo and converting to white and doing that sort of stuff. Just placing all of these in the center. Those exact things I showed you guys before. So actually places them in the center, giving the 100 view height. And this thing is pretty interesting. So you can pass in colors here, right, into this circle component. So let's say I want red here, right? So I can just do red. It's gonna change this to red, as you guys can see. And now I can actually pass in the size too. So I want to like this much huge. You can do this huge. It's gonna look ugly, obviously. I'm just gonna keep it to 60. And that's pretty cool, guys. Now, obviously, all I have to do is make this false, And what this is gonna do is basically after 0.5 seconds, it's gonna become false. It's gonna render all this stuff. So if the user actually comes to your website, he's gonna see this beautiful loading animation, and then the page will load here, and then you could navigate through the page. And that's it, guys. Now we are finally and officially complete with the build, guys. And I don't know how long it has been. I didn't even track the time, but I kind of feel like it's a very long time right now. And we have invested and we have learned so much, especially the Next.js aspect of the application, which I showed you guys. Now, if you guys, I know it was a quite intense build, and if you guys didn't get the Next.js aspect or the CSS or anything, just comment it out. Just don't hesitate to ask. I'll be happy to help. You guys could reach me out on other platforms on Reddit and other platforms, wherever you like. I'll be really happy to, you know, help, and also just go and dive into next year's documentation. It's pretty good, and it's all we have to do right now, guys, is I have to show you guys how to actually deploy this to Vercel. Is a platform. That's the last step, so you guys could deploy your own applications as well, and it's pretty good. The Vercel is very nice, actually. So what you guys want to do is go on to Vercel, sign up with your GitHub account. Okay, sign up with your GitHub account. I'm already signed in right now, and what you guys want to do basically is so go to your GitHub. Okay, if you don't have one, just create it. I mean, everyone has GitHub. Who does not have GitHub? So go to your GitHub. Okay, just create a new repository. Actually, you have to show you guys, right? I already created a repository, so I might have to show you guys. I mean, it's very simple actually. So let's actually create a private repository for you guys. So create a repository, and in my case, I'm just gonna name it StarWars API build YT. Right, and we'll keep it private for me. But obviously, you guys can keep it public. Right, create a repository like this, and all you have to do is obviously now open the terminal here and just copy this command. You see this command? Just copy this command here and just paste it, and it's just gonna remotely add this origin, this repo to your application here. Then all you want to do basically, if you're in git status, right, you see all these files are red, right? So you want to deploy all these files basically, right? So everything's kind of complete right now. So what you can do is you can add dot, it's gonna add everything, and you can commit m. In my case, I'm just gonna use first commit. You can type whatever message you guys want and you can commit here, and then you just have to push and just copy this command and push it. So now as soon as this is done, you guys, if you refresh this, here we go, guys. This is our build here, and it's deployed on GitHub. Not on Vercel, but it's actually deployed on GitHub. So every time you actually make a change, right, what you actually have to do is git add, right? Git add, since you have already remotely added this, you have to say git add dot, and then you have to say git commit, type a message, and then just git push in the end. And that's all. And that's all. This is gonna update, and you're gonna see your commit messages here. It's very simple. And as soon as you push that, right, it's gonna automatically deploy to Vercel without you worrying to go there and deploying it. And like other platforms, Netlify and other platforms, they don't actually deploy it automatically. But Vercel actually does that for you. Even if you create a PR, what PR is it's a pull request, actually deploys on Vercel automatically with that pull request. Now what you want to do is sign in with your GitHub account, click on this new project, right? Then you're gonna see your builds here, right? All your GitHub repos. Now mine is here, so I'm just gonna import, select this, select your account. I'm gonna select mine, right? And you don't have to change anything here, guys. Don't mess up with any. You could add environment variables and stuff, but I would suggest not to mess up with anything, especially these commands. Okay, actually recognizes the framework and everything. all you guys have to do is click on deploy, and that's it. It's gonna take a while to deploy, but that's it, guys. After you do that, it's just gonna deploy, and you're gonna see a live URL. And anytime you update your website, okay, I just showed you the steps. Just git commit, git add, and everything. And as soon as your GitHub basically updates, my GitHub, and you see your comment message, is actually gonna deploy it automatically. And you guys are gonna see a link here as well. Versus gonna link it here as well. And see, it's actually deploying, it's actually doing. So I'm getting some warnings. So if it is red, that means an error, and if there's something wrong with your build, so might have to fix that. But if everything's fine, it's just gonna deploy. You guys can see it's uploading for me. It's building up for optimized production build, and these errors are just fine. They're just because I use the, so it's actually deployed. You guys can see. Now you can visit, and as soon as I click that, boom, guys, you see. So we didn't actually see the logo. It might didn't render out. So it actually didn't render out the logo for us. Actually, here we go. I think, yeah, so it was loading actually, so that's fine. So here we go, guys. This is the build, right? And if there is anything you have to fix, you have to change, that you go through those steps, and anything you change is automatically gonna deploy. If you go to your GitHub repo back, you know, and as soon as I refresh, you see a link here, guys. And this is the link the Vercel actually gives you. And you'll get a message on your email as well, right? That Vercel actually deployed this for you, which in my opinion is one of the best platforms, I guess, right? You don't have to anything, it just integrates so well with GitHub that you just commit your changes and actually deploys automatically. So I hope you guys had fun with this. It was not quite a production level build, but quite intense, and there was a lot to learn. So many subtle changes which we did, with the CSS, with everything else, and you know and if I click here, guys, you see the statically generated thing, right? I mean, that's so cool. Like, if you show anyone, if you include this in your portfolio and show anyone, not even this, any website you make using Next.js, right? It's pretty damn awesome, because you click and it's just there, information. There's no delay, and another cool thing is the SEO, right? I mean, everything's actually rendering out. The name of the person is on top there. So yeah, I mean, that's it for today, guys. And let me know why should I actually build next. I'm thinking of some e-commerce web applications or something like that, and I'm thinking of using Tailwind CSS for that. That would kind of cool, because it's very hot right now. It's very popular. But make sure to give me suggestions, and I'll try what I can do. And now I'm gonna be more regular. Try to do weekly uploads, so everyone stays focused, and I also stay focused, and I also like enjoy doing this stuff. Uh, so yeah, until then, guys, take care and peace.